Hi, everyone. Thank you for waiting. I see we have people in the chat room. That's wonderful. I just wanted to say, oh, sorry, we're coming in live. I heard that. I wanted to,
Where's that coming from?
another computer,
Ah,
another one. But we have Jeff C here again, and I'm really excited because we have all sorts of things to talk about. And it's great to have you people in the chat. That's wonderful. I'll try not to look at that because I'll get very distracted. But I wanted to have Jeff start off with telling us about his latest video that I saw him put up because I have something that I wanted to share with him. Jeff, you did a video about Vikings.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I always meant to do a video. Like, there's like a lot of times I come across a show or I come across something and I'm like, I make a mental note somewhere. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cover this at some point. And that was one of the shows which I saw that particular episode years back. And then today I was going through my feed and I'm subscribed to this character called the Golden One. And he's kind of interesting. I don't trust him because of some of the shills that he features on his show, and I don't like to see muscular naked men or topless men, and he tends to do that. So I never watched that shit. But he had but his channel promotes male testosterone, male, alpha male, abstaining from porn and horrible foods and toxic media and stuff like this. So he's got a lot of good points, and I think people can find good stuff. And that's so I saw his video come across, and it was on that, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so I watched it and I left a comment, a kind of a snarky comment, but I just said, because he referred to it as progressive liberalism. It's like, "Hey, do you know who runs the History Channel? Like, I
Probably
mean,
not.
seriously, all right. I mean, this is much bigger than just some basic programming. This is what they're doing to people. So, yeah. And then I saw that, and then so I was like, okay, I'll make a little video. And when I went to search the threesome scene, I wasn't surprised, but there was actually another threesome. So it's like the show didn't seem like they were content with just having one very bizarre threesome. They wanted to have more than one. Maybe they have multiple. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, you're talking about a show about Vikings, and they're trying to suggest to you that Vikings, especially Viking warlords, would allow men from other parts of the world to come in and have sex with their women, which defies all logic and all of history, basically. And it makes absolutely no sense because, of course, sex does have a biological consequence, which we call children, and that's where
Yeah.
they come from. And so you don't do that type of stuff because that leads to nothing but trouble. And for these shows, which are very devious in the method that they use, because they entice the male. So the male, a typical male. I'm a typical male. I play sports. I drink beer. I love women. I'm a typical male. So I am not immune to the pull of some of these things that they lay out for us. Like I watch Game of Thrones, for instance, and I have done a number of breakdowns on Game of Thrones. So I do watch it for good reasons, but I do get entertained at the same time. Saying to folks out there that shouldn't, or you should feel guilty necessarily for getting entertainment from Hollywood, and that you should, like, I would recommend everybody turn their back on all of it. Yeah, absolutely. That's ideally, but I know probably most won't. So what I would say to folks is always put your thinking cap on when you're watching any of this stuff. Make sure to pay very close attention and always think about who is responsible and what agendas that they're pushing. And then you're okay, because then you can say, okay, I kind of enjoy the show, but I hate when they throw all this crap in. And so that's, like, I understand the allure of the programming because it's very powerful. We all grow up with it. Like, we grow up with television, we grow up with movies, we grow up with video games, and our parents most of them did not know better. I mean, you can't really blame them. You know, we have a system in which mothers are not allowed to be mothers anymore, and fathers are being turned into something very different. And so whole the whole target is the family nucleus. That is without a doubt their target. They are depopulating the planet. This is my theory, of course, and please feel free to try or say whatever you feel on it. But my theory is that they're pushing this toxic sort of sexuality on people so that they take people down the wrong path.
I would
And
agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like, you know, I created the channel Supreme Lord Commander years back, as a sort of avenue for discussing the pop culture, because I knew for a long time how much of well, I didn't really know how much, but I had seen enough of the programming that I felt it was important. And oddly enough, I had to upload that on a backup channel
I was
because
just going to say.
yeah, it's all the strikes, right? It's like this
Oh, no.
one, yeah, I can feel that they could strike me for. I got another strike, another attempt to take down videos. It happens every day. So I got like 3 videos or 4 maybe on Jeff Censored Live, and they've all been hit. Like one of them has been age hit, another one was taken down, and then I just got another attempt. Somebody attempted to flag the video, and then they put an age restriction on it. So it doesn't end, and folks need to understand that. And there's a reason why certain channels are allowed to discuss certain things and others aren't. I would
Absolutely.
urge everyone out there to be careful, because they're watching all of us in this realm. If you're in this realm, they're watching you, and they're laying a lot of honeypots for you, a lot of traps. Anyways, so
I
that's the story.
I was watching your Viking video, and it made me think of something that I saw in my local newspaper yesterday. It was in the so-called local paper, but it was an article coming from the Chicago Tribune, and it's all about, and I have a couple of the websites here. I could pull them up, but it's all about that people are turning to websites for a new way to make and raise children, and that they've got these websites. One is called Family by Design, and another one is Modamily, Modamily. And this is for people to meet up, and they are looking to just co-parent, no dating, no romance, and just other than conception purposes, no sex. And that this is the new way to have
Yep.
families. It's just
Well,
insane.
they told us years back, and I've shown like one of the craziest clips ever in the history of YouTube, in my opinion, is the talk show anchor, whatever, the woman there. I can't remember her name. She's mulatto, and she was stating it was MSNBC, and it was part of their lean forward sort of agenda, I guess, to put properly, in which she was stating that we have to stop thinking about children as being belonging to us.
Yeah.
You're a father or mother, and that's your child. We have to stop thinking about children as being privatized. We have to start thinking them as belonging to the community. And then when we do that, then we make progress and we move forward, we lean forward, sort of thing. And it's very disturbing because, and that was, I believe that came out in 2012, and it went pretty, I mean, it's still pretty infamous. I'm sure if people are in that video, just YouTube search "children belong to the community" and you'll find it. You'll probably find umpteen different cuts of it, but it really sums it up, because it's what they have been engineering. And so it's no surprise that they're doing this. When I showed back in the election, I think it was 2015, where Justine Trudeau got elected. They had the CC, and it was Peter Baltbridge. And now a look, it was like the beginning of the national. And now a look at the average Canadian family. And the average Canadian family that they featured were 2 purple-haired dykes that somehow had kids. I don't know how that worked, but I mean, it's easier for the girls to do it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but this is what they're doing. And they're doing it everywhere. And it's like the Campbell soup commercials where I'm your father. No, I'm your father. And you've got two guys of a certain tribe in Hollywood, and they both somehow they have a young 4-year-old boy or 3-year-old boy, and that's all just normal. And this is where they're taking us. Like what I'm trying to show to people, or one of the big things I'm trying to show to people is that they are trying, like I was saying about this thing, is that they're trying to read on what sex is and turn it into something else. And then on top of that, and which I've shown this over and over again through all the movies and all the entertainment, that they're redefining family. And I often talk about the Marvel comic book movies, which are hardcore New World Order Zionist programming. And they feature all these characters who all have different colors. And none of them have children. The only one that has a family is the one that never shows up in any of the films. His name is Hawkeye. And he had a farm, and it's just bizarre. It was like, out of all the movies, the Marvel movies, there's like, I don't know, 20 of them maybe. There's only one scene that actually featured a family in it. So you have all these characters, all these superheroes who are well loved the age of marriage, who none of them are married, none of them have children. And the whole concept is that it's the family is your friends. The family is the people around you. So what I showed with the Guardians of the Galaxy is the Guardians of the Galaxy, which are all multicolored. There's a She-Hulk, so there's a green one, there's a purple guy, there's a little raccoon. Like everybody has a different color and theme. And in the Galaxy Volume 2, it was the father of the Star-Lord, who was the white male, the bearded white male, who was going around the universe planting his seed. So I mean, they were depicting the white male, the sort of toxic sort of image of a white male, aristocrat or nobleman or monarch, would go around planting his seed around the world, or planting his seed with all these different women. And that in the end, the son kills the father and chooses his multicolored friends as his real family. That's the theme, right? And so they show this theme over and over and over again. It weaves its way into everything, and it is extremely evil, in my opinion. That's why I have such a hard time watching anything. I mean, for me to watch Black Mirror, it's almost like an Olympic sort of. It's like, am I really going to sit down and watch this? I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be ready for it, sort of thing, because it's just too close to what's going on. And it's probably even more disturbing how the rest of humanity seemingly is oblivious to it. I'm sure you can sympathize to a certain extent.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple episodes of Black Mirror,
Mm.
but that is one wacky show. I think the one I saw was a woman who had done something horrible and was punished by living it over and over again, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something with a bear. It was really weird. And then I saw the one where the lady falls in love with her dead husband's chatbot.
Yeah. That one's in particular important. But yeah, the interesting thing is, of course, it's produced by Netflix, and Netflix is the guy that created Netflix is the nephew of Edward Bernays, who is, I mean, he is the father. He is the most important figure in American propaganda. I mean, he is the Goebbels of American propaganda, to the nth degree, sort of thing. And his greatest inspiration, of course, was his uncle, his double uncle, because you know how it works in a certain tribe. But yeah, his double uncle was Sigmund Freud. And so much of the horrible sort of toxic philosophy of men and women, and the sexuality of men and women, which of course extends through the whole sexual revolution, which of course is a certain character named Alfred Kinsey, who was directly connected to, of course, Edward Bernays as well. And this concept that Sigmund Freud put, that we are all governed, that humanity is inherently evil, and that we're all governed by our latent sort of sexual desires, and humanity basically can't be trusted. So with Edward Bernays, his whole shtick that he would use and influence the governments and influence, of course, the major corporations through marketing, was that, you know, humanity's is bad, it's evil, and we can't leave important decisions to the general public. I mean, they'll take us off a cliff. So we have to provide the illusion of democracy, and we have to provide the illusion of choice, and convince everyone out there that they are partaking in that they actually have a say when they absolutely have no say whatsoever in where everything's going. And so it really ties together much of what we see in our entertainment. And that's why I always say to folks that your entertainment is programming. You have to
Definitely.
understand that you can still be entertained. Like I still get entertained. Like I watch ice hockey. I'm Canadian, right? I mean, it's in my blood. So I'm gonna watch hockey. And when the game is on and I'm watching the game, it's good. There's nothing wrong. It's all there. But as soon as the game stops, the commercials start or the halftime shows start, then the cancers, you know, the we got to grow our mustaches and dress in purple for cancer awareness, and all these people died, and we got to remember this, we got to remember that, and then the LGBT and all that crap comes in. And this is the whole thing, is that they draw you in with what you would naturally be attracted to, and then they pervert your mind with their agendas through their machinations and their you know, visual and audible sort of mind control that they subject you to.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me with it all is how it's also sick, and it's so normal. It's so normalized. Now, I haven't had a television for a few years, and the only commercials I see are the YouTube commercials, and I skip those as soon as I can. But the it
Likewise.
it's just so screwed up. I mean, you show that poor child Desmond and these other children, that how I mean, you saw the clip on Good Morning America of that child on there. I know someone put it in your comments. I would imagine you saw. And it's insane. These people are just clapping people in the audience like, "What is wrong with you?
Is
What
that the
is?"
one with iced tea and cocoa?
No, no. No, I don't think so. I no.
It's so bizarre. It just goes to show you the, yeah. I didn't see the clip yet, but I have, like, I would have talked about these characters many times already, were it not for the fact that they're children
Yeah,
and the fact that I'm so censored. So,
yeah,
like, when I approached that particular video, I just said, well, I'll just be quiet and I'll just let people. And actually, I might, you know, start to do that a lot more often, because I think it makes it a little trickier for them to flag and censor the videos when you're just saying, well, this is on Twitter. But you know, but yeah, I mean, the Desmond is amazing. I looked into the website. I looked into everything like 2-3 years ago. They had the 88, so they had the one in Montreal and they had the one in New York City, and they were two 8-year-old transgenders. And when I covered the one in Montreal, I was showing how it was late at night and they were in the gay village, and they had this Lactatia character that was dancing up on a strip stage, like, and doing spread eagles in front of a bunch of grown people, mostly men, who were cheering it on like it was like a grown up sort of thing. And I don't even know how many ways that is wrong. I mean, if you cannot see that there's something extremely wrong with that, you are, in my opinion, you are mentally ill. And,
seriously.
you know, and this is where it's gone too far. Um, it really has. Like, everything has changed. It has really changed over the past 10, 15 years. It has changed radically, and it scares me. And I know now, looking back, like, how long we've been programmed by our entertainment, like, ever since we've been around.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because I don't know if you ever heard of the show The Waltons. You ever heard of that show?
I never watched it, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so it's funny because I was sharing this with a colleague the other day, and so I watched the intro because as a kid it was one of these things. my aunt lived on a farm sort of thing, and we go over there, and they would play the reruns of these shows, and it was like a Christian family. It was like an extended family where, you know, like the granny and grandfather live on the farm, and there's like, you know, 6 or 8 kids, and, you know, and then they go through all their trials and tribulations, but it's all about the family coming together and overcoming things. And the irony was, if you watch the opening sequence, and it's actually quite beautiful, because, you know, you have the patriarch coming home, and he's got the truck, and the wife comes out to greet him, and the kids, and then the grandfather comes around, and the grandmother, and everybody's smiling, and everybody's happy to see each other. It's so radically different than from what we get today. But the whole catch was that what he brought home was the mind control, which was a radio. It was like an old fashioned, you know, 1920s radio, or I don't know, in the early, those giant radios that they used to have. So I found that very ironic. In fact, I'll probably do a video on it someday, because it's symbolic of where it all went wrong in many ways. That the government is in your home and telling you how to raise your kids, and taking it way further than that, you know, and the government, and I mean, and the term the government is such a disingenuous, or it's not an accurate term of what it is, because which government, you know, who's watching, who's in your home, who has access to your Alexa, right? Well, you might want to look in the Middle East. You might want to look at a few different places that are probably storing this information and listening, and potentially listening. I don't think it's like they're listening to every single person and every single conversation. But if you are somebody of interest, of somebody that they might be keeping an eye on, then chances are they're collecting all your data, and you know, at some point in time they might access that data and use it against you. And people are bringing this into their homes. They're building homes now with these surveillance, 24/7 surveillance grids built in the homes, built in the walls. And this is what they show you on Black Mirror. I mean, they show you this on Black Mirror, and well, here it is. And so with Black Mirror, there was an episode that I'm sure most people remember, which had a pizza truck. It was a driverless pizza truck. And it was pivotal in the story because it hit somebody, and so a lawsuit emerged from it, and it played within the storyline of the film, which incidentally, or the episode, which was all about Agenda 21, by the way. And I covered that and immediately got censored because that's the way it goes. But yeah, the pizza truck, the driverless pizza truck episode aired the same week that Domino's Pizza announced that they are launching a series of driverless pizza trucks.
Totally a coincidence, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, why did they let you read? Why did they give you 1984 to read in high school and Brave New World?
So that you're ready for it.
Yes. So that you're well programmed, right? And it's like showing you, you know, what they're going to do, basically, so that when they do it, you accept it. I know it sounds crazy, but yes, that's exactly how it works, because it's evident with what's happening right at this moment, where you know, they are taking control of human reproduction, and we're allowing them to take control of our children, and they have. I mean, do you think? And I know there are exceptions out there, and I'm sure that you're one of them. But for the most part, most people give up complete sovereignty of their children, just like we mentioned before, where that particular video, we had to think of them as part of the community. Well, they're being raised not by you. I'm not saying you, Camille, but I'm saying the people that are out there. Most people got to realize this. It's the state, the education system, and the media, and the peers that have all the influence on the kids. By the time they reach 5 years old, it's almost a done deal, and parents have little to no influence, unless, of course, they are doing the proper parenting. And if you're doing the proper parenting, you know, seriously, you know, you deserve all the accolades in the world, because you're actually doing everything that you should be doing. But for the bulk of humanity, the mother's working, the father's working, you know, the kids are, you know, It's just crazy. Another thing that I didn't get around to covering, which just jumped in my mind as I'm talking about this, is this particular channel, which I'm going to expose, is called Infographics, and it's a horrible channel. It's very much the same sort of theme as ASAP science. In fact, I call them ASAP graphics or whatever, you know, just, and they had a Pornhub thing. And of course, I did do a video on Pornhub and all the stats that were released early this year, but I didn't put it up because I was getting hit here, there, and everywhere. And I figured, well, they're going to hit me for this too. So I won't put it up just in case people are listening, because I am probably going to upload that to DTube soon, once I find it on my hard drive. But this infographics thing, basically what they do is they dumb you down like ASAP science, where it's like little, like very childish sort of basic drawings of human figures, and you know, it's very simplified. And they were showing how much porn has changed, and how porn is become the most consumed thing by far on the internet, like to the nth degree. I mean, it's half the internet is porn basically. And what they were showing was so crazy, because in the opening couple minutes of the video, they weren't showing they weren't showing teenagers watching porn. They were showing little children watching porn. So they had animated figures of like little boys and girls who, and they were insinuating that they were masturbating, that they had used Kleenexes all around, and they were watching the porn.
And this was on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and it's getting probably millions of views
Oh,
right at this moment.
that's amazing.
Look it up, infographics. It's astonishing, and I going to hammer these guys. You know, but then again, you know, like I feel like I can't even these days, because I just get hit, you know. So like I want to go out and get angry about this stuff, because there's no way you can't sexualize children. You can't do that. That's not, you don't do that. It doesn't work. It's not meant to be. This is not what you do to kids. This hurts kids. This really messes them up. So you don't want to normalize things that are bad for people. But that's what they do, and they're normalizing porn. And this is one of the topics that I've already made a significant video, which I again haven't uploaded because of all the censorship, which is not at all fun. It is not at all fun. I think porn is extremely evil, and I think it's destroying people, namely men. And it's terrible for relationships. It's toxic. And a good example of that would be the Ashley Madison psyop that they conducted, where they used very clever marketing to entice men to have an affair, because life is short. So the slogan was "Have an affair, life's short, have an affair." And so they were targeting family men. That's exactly what they were targeting. They weren't targeting single men; they're targeting family men. Have an affair. So Ashley Madison had this website. It had 7, 8 million, 9 million, 10, 12. I don't know. It was way up near 10 million, memberships of men. And then all their information was released. Like there was a massive coordinated release. So overnight, I don't know how many families got ruined. This was a few years back, sort of thing. But I warned people prior to that happening that there was a good chance that that's exactly what they would do. They're really messing with everyone. The entertainment is toxic. The internet. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff on the internet. It can be the most wonderful resource in the world, without a doubt. And we all would be ideally better off with it if it weren't in the hands of people who do not have our best interest at heart at all. In
Yeah.
fact, they have quite the opposite, and that is evident by the programming that is everywhere, and the normalization of these things they're toxic. They're toxic. Pornography, the LGBTQNSWXYZ. I mean, yeah, okay, it's fine. You want to be that? That's okay. But you don't normalize that. That's not normal. And if you do normalize it, then people adopt it and they think it's a normal lifestyle. And that leads to more suicides, more depression, obviously destroyed families, obviously, you know, it makes people too, also, when you think about it, it takes people out of the whole equation, because if you can distract people with whatever it is, you're distracting them. You can distract people with their entertainment, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter ones, whatever it is that people are obsessed with, comic book movies, right? Oh, I'm going to devote my energy to arguing whether Thor is stronger than Batman, sort of thing, right? That's what YouTube is, in a way. It's a suspended adolescence, and it's programming men in particular. I mean, they target women all the time, of course, very much the same. They're targeting women with porn. They with the Pornhub thing. Interestingly enough, the big sort of stat that they like to throw out was that the #1 search term in the world for porn was lesbians.
Oh,
And yeah, and it's they put an inordinate amount of effort into exotifying and normalizing, glamorizing lesbianism, and normalizing it and making it trendy. And why not try it? And just like just the past week here, the big controversy that broke was that big controversy. Their concocted sort of controversy was, of course, that Logan Paul said he would, hashtag go gay for a month, right? And it's like this. If you don't know who Logan Paul is, well, he's only probably the most recognizable YouTuber on the planet. Maybe not named PewDiePie. I mean, he is as big of a star, and he is the star of their flagship show on YouTube, Red. They like that color. Red, in which is called The Thinning, the New World Order. Not making it up. And it's about a dystopic future in which the world is severely depopulated, and children are forced to take, or students are forced to take aptitude tests, and if they fail, they die, basically. So a massive depopulation. So YouTube's flagship show, featuring its most controversial artist, the guy that went to the suicide forest and allegedly took a photo of himself next to a dead body. And that video went to #1 on trending, but that was all accidental, of course. It just kind of happens, right? Yeah, they punished that guy by giving him the starring role in their flagship show.
that'll
And
teach him.
yeah, that'll teach him. That's it.
Yeah,
So
I heard them talk about Logan Paul on that. I know I've mentioned it to you before. I watch Silicon Valley shows just trying to keep up on what the people that like the technology that I'm looking at,
yeah.
the ones that are supporting it. There's this one that's This Week in Google, and I remember them talking about Logan Paul and the suicide forest, and they're talking about how he has so many people on his production crew that they couldn't even understand how something like this could get passed. It's like, yeah, it was just
Yeah,
him.
and he had a
Sure.
rainbow on his jacket, and the 666, and the lightning bolt, and I mean, just all the symbols that they love. Um, it is what it is, and it's sad, because, like, I feel like there's a complete disconnect, where people have no connection to what their kids are. Like, they're losing, like, they can't even identify. Like, the kids can't identify with the adults. The adults, unless the adults are stuck in a suspended state of childhood. So if the adults are going to the Marvel comic book movies, if the adults are playing the video games, if the adults are drinking the corn sugar beverages, genetically modified goop, if they're stuck in a suspended state, if they're collecting toys, then they're right at home with their offspring, because that's where their offspring are, and that's where they're going to keep everybody. And this is all designed, because, look, you don't want people like Camille, you don't want people like Jeff C, you don't want people like good people we have in the audience, Wake Now, I'm a Werewolf, Chris Florio, others. You don't want these people. These people are dangerous. They're awake, they're paying attention. You
Yeah.
want dumb people who are confused about their sexuality, who are obsessed with their programming, obsessed about whether, the Hulk is stronger than Iron Man, sort of thing, right? Who's going to win in a fight, the She-Hulk or the Hulk? Probably now it's the She-Hulk. In fact, I would put my money in the She-Hulk winning. But
Easily.
you get my drift. I mean, like, we're a massive social experiment. We're being dumbed down, and we are being we're being I mean we're victims. I mean, all of us, every single one of us is a victim in many ways to this, because if for a guy, porn is something that's hard to resist because they know exactly how men are. Men are visual. Women are much more, you know, intellectual when it comes to sex, but men are visual. Shapes, right? That's what excites us. So they know, hey, we can get men. We can just put the right images up, and men come in, and then the men come in because they see the boobs and the bust, and they're like, yeah. But then next thing you know, it's, you know, hey, it's a threesome. Oh, it's a foursome. Oh, it's Sense8. Oh, yeah, let's all get in the hot tub together. Hey, did you see the Bill Nye? Have you seen that one, boy, the Bill Nye with the ice cream bowl?
The ice cream bowl?
Yeah, Bill Nye, the science guy with the ice
No.
cream bowl. You haven't seen that?
No.
Okay,
I don't
write
think
that
so.
down. Write that down. You have to see that. You have to see. Everyone has to see that in a way, because it is so egregious. It is so insulting. It's basically Bill Nye is hosting this show, this live show, and then I know they had a bunch of trannies up on stage singing some song, and then he comes out and he says, you know, he starts talking about sexuality, and then he says, we're going to take a closer look at sexuality, and then they show all these ice cream cones, right? They're all different flavors, and there's one flavor that's vanilla. It's a vanilla flavor ice cream, and he's the white guy. He believes the sky daddy, and he believes that only a man and a woman should be together. But all the other ice creams are like, wow, why would you deprive yourself of this? Look at this. We're having so much fun. Come and join us. We're all in the bowl together. You know, oh, no, my sky daddy, you know, like making fun of the Christianity, of course, at the same time, you know, making white again, you know, attacking the majority white people, and but you know, and then pushing that sort of toxic sort of sexual. You don't play around with sexuality. You have to realize what it is, and then you say, well, this is something that's very special, and I'm going to save it for the people, that the person, the people, the
You've been
person,
watching too much
yeah,
Vikings.
the person that you love, and that is your lifelong commitment. And that is why, like when I showed that, I mean, to think that tribal communities would ever practice that type of sexuality is it's so it's such bullshit. It never works. It can never work. So but that's why they do it. They want to, they're rewriting history. It's 1984, you know, it's like we're going to rewrite the history. Well, this is what they do every day now. They rewrite the history books, and they take this out and they put that in. And Game of Thrones is another example, because Game of Thrones has been radically sort of you know, New World Orderized, if you will, since its transformation from the book to the television show. But understand, first and foremost, George R. Martin is a product of Hollywood. He is a satanic scumbag, and he wants us all to worship the elite, and he wants us all to embrace the incest and all the themes that are all over every episode, sort of thing. So and it's hard to resist, because it's exciting. The acting's top notch. The story is excellent. You know, it like keeps you glued. You know, you're thrilled. They put so much money into these things. So I understand that part of it. That is the part that's difficult, because we all want to fit in, kind of thing. You know, you don't want to be completely out of the loop when it
Like
comes
me.
to yeah,
I don't
you
fit
know.
in. I'm out
Well,
of the loop.
then you should feel pride.
Yeah.
Ironically, but that is the catch. So when I say, like, I say this all the time, and I said it in today's video, I said you should turn your back on all of it, 100%. In fact, all of us would be better off without any of it, like none of it. I mean, what, the music? Get the fuck out of here. The television shows, the movies. Come
Oh,
on,
some of
seriously.
those songs that you have covered and gone through the lyrics, are they playing these on the radio? I don't listen to the radio either, but are they playing these songs on
They're getting
radio?
200 million views according to YouTube, so somebody's
Ex
listening to them. It can't all be bots, although I imagine a lot of it is.
Yeah.
Since the top video in YouTube history is called Psy, by the way.
Oh, is that wait, what's the it's yeah.
Gangnam Style.
Isn't he
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Korean?
By
Some
Psy, right? But yeah, you watch what they want you to watch. I mean, the thing that people don't understand, and I know this really well because of Supreme Lord Commander. So I sub all these channels, gaming channels, Game of Thrones channels, sci-fi channels, all that to keep an eye. So I get a barometer of what the average sort of person's being programmed into. And I could say the programming is over the top, and people are completely oblivious to it. Like they are just, they have no clue what's being done to them, and they are falling for it hook, line, and sinker. They get you because you think, well, I don't like Spider-Man, I'm cool, I like Daredevil. Well, it's the same, it doesn't. I don't like I don't like Marvel, I like He-Man. Well, oh, I like The Simpsons, I don't like South Park. It's all them, it's all the same, it's all coming from them, all of it. It's not like, Joe Schmo up in Kuujjuaq came up with a show, and oh, we just happened to fall upon it, and boy, is it ever good. It's never like that, folks. I mean, your cartoons, your Rick and Morty, the things, the South Park, like the things that people, they embrace and then become memes and they become icons within themselves. Well, it's never accidental, it's always purposeful, but people embrace these images, and I've shown this on Twitter. It's like one of the things that's crazy is like gifs and stuff, like where they give you the selection. And I was showing how it was like I was trying to find, an alpha male gif, an alpha male guy kind of going, yeah, high five or something like that. And it wasn't. It was all these scrawny, men dressed as women or men in dresses. And it's like, that's how it works. They keep you in their world. So it doesn't matter if you like, Batman, or you like Wolverine, or you like Rick and Morty, or you prefer The Simpsons. You're all, no matter what, you're in their zone. And same with the music. I mean, unless you're listening to somebody that's completely independent, you know, that has no connections, you're in their world. So if you're listening to Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, or XXX Temptation, or 6ix9ine, or whatever this crap is, you're in their world. And it doesn't matter like what you think is cooler or what you think sounds better, because you're in their world. You're in their programming, and you're in a bad place if you're there. You are. I can tell you're in a bad place. This entertainment is not good for you. It is not wholesome at all, and it's not going to provide you with the types of, and we don't really know, like, how do we know how much television affects us? Like they did experiments back in the 50s, like where they used subliminal images. Like they would insert frames, like every 30th frame would be like a Coca-Cola or a bag of popcorn or something like that. And then they would find that the sales of cola and popcorn would go through the roof. People wouldn't be able to visually, like your brains wouldn't be able to pick it out. Or at least your conscious wouldn't be able to pick it out. You wouldn't be able to say, yeah, I did see that Coca-Cola, or that, but your brain would somewhere, your subconscious, whatever, and it would trigger something in you. So, and like the triggering that happens when people see fast food icons, for instance, or fast food logos, like there's actually a trigger mechanism that happens in the brain. They don't, like, yes, there should be studies in this. There should be all kinds of work done in this, because this is extremely important. Because if these corporations are taking advantage and using a subliminal mind control to addict people to their products and to keep them coming back to the same abusers, then that is extremely evil, and that there should be hell to pay, sort of thing. But instead, no, it's like, no, get your latest mind control. Get this TV's even smarter. It's even smart. It's got even more pixels than your last TV that you got like last year. And it's smarter, and it's always on, and it's always listening. So, you'll forget about that soon enough, because you'll just leave it on. Right. And it'll listen to everything that you're doing. And, well, don't worry, it's being kept in a safe place, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was looking at something. You were talking about how we're being programmed and how early these children. I was looking at after some wonderful young people Wait, I hear myself. Is that me doing that? Did you
Oh,
change something?
what's happening?
Oh, I thought I can hear myself in an echo now, but
Okay,
maybe that's just me. Sorry.
hang on.
But
I'm gonna
oh,
do something here.
okay.
All right, can you still hear me?
I can. I
Can you hear
don't
me?
hear I do, and I don't hear me now. So,
Okay, hang on. Yeah, so I'm gonna try something else here. All right.
okay.
All right. Let's see that. Can you speak for a sec?
I can.
Okay, now I can hear you. All right. So I just turned off my stereo here
Oh,
because I
sorry.
typically do it that way. It's my fault. I got you on. I've got headphones on now. So.
Oh, okay. Me too. Hashtag me too, right? So so I was talking to these wonderful young people that I know, and they were telling me how they've been watching a lot of YouTube lately. So I instantly asked them for the names of the channels that they are looking at. And I went looking at them because obviously you've showed us everything, how horrible some of the things are. I figured that there had to be more. And not that these are absolutely terrible, but I wanted to show you what I saw just so
Yeah,
since
absolutely.
people are looking and I don't know when I'd get to make a video about it. So,
Yeah.
all right, here's one of the people. And again, we're talking about children, and I'm not saying that the children are bad. In fact, this girl's parents, if that's who they are wacky. They are, and they're the ones that says in the about that they put the whole thing together. But this child here is just such a pusher of every toy under the sun. You got to have a new toy. And if you see how often
Oh,
she's
I've covered
yep,
this. I've
you
covered them.
that girl,
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Toys and Me, back in 2015, I showed a video of this channel, which is these people they're awful people. The couple, they're British, but they're interracial couple,
yeah.
and they have these kids, and what they were doing was so pedo. Like it was, they were sexualizing the children. They had a 9-year-old girl who they were bringing around everywhere with a pacifier in her mouth, like she was like a toddler. And they had rainbow unicorns, and then they had naked or clothless dolls all together, like in bathtubs and stuff like that. And they had the girls playing with this toy, and it was it's probably still up there. I flagged the video. It was a toy that's like a big red penis that you shake and you twist, and you have to shake it really fast. And you have to twist it and shake it and twist and shake and twist and shake and twist.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's actually a toy. I don't know the name of it, but I showed this years back, and I literally almost like I almost punched a hole in the screen. I was so enraged, and that was Toys and Me, and the theme, the rainbow unicorn, is all over that channel. These people are awful human beings that are responsible. You can't really say anything about the kids, but
No.
the people that run the show are terrible human beings, and this is par for this channel here has millions of views,
Yeah.
and
Over
if you
10
want to
million
keep what you have
subscribers.
up on the screen, you have to click on your icon.
I
um
have
yeah, so like
let's
um
see. Because I
you
know
know
it pops up when I talk,
yeah,
which
that's the whole thing. So if you want to keep it up, you click on your icon down here, the bottom right hand corner, and it'll just stay up.
did that work?
Yeah, it looks like it's working. I think it's working now.
You can still see it.
um yeah, you just so anyways, yeah, what were we gonna show with this?
Well, she has another channel too. This is where I saw. So this is her. She only has 4 million subscribers over here. But yeah, all the pranks and dad's in a bathtub a lot.
Mhm.
But yeah, just the give me, I need to have more toys constantly. And then the slime. The slime was the thing that's like a common
Yeah.
theme in all of the channels I looked at. And I had seen, I was looking why I mean, I like slime. It's fun. It's fun to make, but when some of these channels are doing it for every single video, they're
Mm,
doing slime videos. And not only, I mean, what goes on goes in. So what is that doing to all these children that are doing the slime so much? I don't know. But
mm.
but then I was looking at this article here. There's a few articles, but why is the internet obsessed with slime videos? And they go into the ASMR.
Oh,
And they describe it as a brain orgasm, the ASMR, that so it's not sexual, but it is affecting their brains. And slime is one of those things, and that the children like to watch slime videos. And I heard from one of the wonderful young people that told me about these channels. They said that slime is addictive, and that's why they watch these
it's like a
channels.
slime programming.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting because the ASMR, if you watch the YouTube Rewind, they had a little segment within that horrible video about ASMR. Like, wow, one of the great things that came out this year was ASMR.
I saw Jeffree Star did an ASMR too. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm just hoping that Jeffree Star decides to make out, with a bus one of
Oh,
these days. I think that would be wonderful for humanity.
yeah.
I
That
mean, I can't even begin to describe how terrible these people are, and the fact that they are the most popular. That everyone is funneled. Well, everyone. I mean, most people are funneled into their channels, and that most people cheer it on. It seems now everyone needs to understand this. It's never exactly what you think it is. Like in the TWOOF movement, there are people that look like they're getting tons of views and that they're super popular, but they're not anywhere near what you think they are. It's a lot of it can be astroturfed, and astroturfing is something we covered way back a lot during the flat Earth psyop. And astroturfing just basically involves well, I mean, it could be politicians, it could be corporations, but it's a method of over inflating, astroturfing your numbers, making it look like you have incredible amounts of people that are so that you can sway public opinion. So a good example is going to a popular YouTuber, maybe one of these channels, clicking on one of those videos and seeing the top comment. The top comment has 2,000 thumbs up. And I think this is a really great channel. And my kids come here every day, and I think it's great and wonderful. And that could be just a channel, a total sock puppet account that put up that comment, and it was astroturf to hell, so that the average person comes in, sees only the top comments, and is influenced by them. So there's a lot of funny business going on. And I would never believe the numbers that a lot of these things are showing, but nonetheless, we would have to assume that the average person is consuming this stuff just based on how stupid
Oh, yeah.
the
And
average person appears to be.
and you see here they have her dress up in boys' clothes. There's another
Yep.
channel that I have here that was shared with me that's a common thing. It's this one here, sis versus bro. And they dress this little boy up in dresses quite often. They have a mermaid video too, where they
Oh,
both
of
put on
course.
mermaid tails and go swimming
Mhm.
around.
They got the lightning bolt.
Where? Oh,
Yep.
yeah, they do.
Yep.
And lots of slime and lots of the changing their clothes around. That I just
You ever heard of the shaytards?
shaytards. No.
Yeah, they're the original quote unquote YouTube family. So Shay Carl and his wife they're big players in YouTube, and they're big players in the and I showed this years back in the multi-channel networks. Philip DeFranco, many of these people are all connected.
Yeah.
Like they're all connected. They really are. Most of them are working for Disney. Disney is the most powerful entity on YouTube. Well, YouTube itself, Google, but nonetheless, the major corporations have gazillions of channels that they don't have to reveal belong to them. And one of the things that I learned um, from a friend was that in Great Britain there's laws. So in Great Britain you have to declare your sponsors. So you can't make a video, like you can't make a video talking about a certain product and not reveal that you're somehow been paid or they gave it to you or whatever, right? You have to reveal that. That's by law. But in the United States, you don't have to. Canada, you don't have to. So basically, it's legal to be a shill, and they don't have to reveal who they're affiliated with. They don't have to reveal anything. And when I was exposing the whole back in 2015, I was exposing every popular YouTuber went gay all of a sudden.
I remember.
Yeah, and it was like the Growy Josefa just came out. Shane Dawson just came out. I'm bisexual. Ingrid Nilsson, I'm gay. They all came out within like a matter of a month or two, and you had these ridiculous videos that were getting gazillions of views. And so I started looking into them and like, oh, they're all working. Oh, they're all connected. Oh, they all know each other. Ah, isn't that interesting? And
Yeah.
that is in many ways probably one of the major reasons that I do get hit a lot, because they don't want people to know that. They don't want people to clue in that a lot of these people are all, well, a huge I don't know how people can't see it though. It's like you see Escape the Night, you see all the top YouTuber celebrities all appearing together over and over and over and over again. But you know, when you see what these people put up on a daily basis, and you see the type of programming that they're involved in, I have no hesitation to say that they are bad people, and that YouTube is a bad platform overall. I mean, there's still good stuff. There's great discussions like this one here, and so many others that are out there, that you can find, hopefully, that haven't been censored. And there are really honest people. There's good scientists, there's good builders, there's good, you know, chefs, there's you know, there's all kind, there is a lot of good stuff out there, but that's not what people are consuming. The popular stuff is pretty much all controlled, and all their agendas are front and center. And
Yeah. 35 million views for switching clothes with her brother. You know?
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at that channel, you go to the about. If you click on the about there, oh, not that one.
Oh.
Saying the toys in me.
Oh
Although
yeah.
that one, look at that one, 3 billion views. That one you were just on,
3
three
billion.
3 billion. So check Toys in Me for their how many views they have. It's probably quite a bit. Oh, this is 2 billion there, but still, I mean, you think that I mean, if that's even remotely true, that is really crazy. And it's like, well, wait a second. You know what, why are people watching this, and is there anything good here? Well, no, it's actually quite awful. In fact, some of it is, in my opinion, would be warrant for you know, it would be warrant for, at the very minimum, an investigation by the child protection services of whatever community they're in, because there are some overtly pedophile videos in this Toys in Me, without a doubt. And I
Yeah.
covered it. I got sick to my stomach. I remember this vividly. And I was like, when they were playing, when they had the little girls playing with the penis toy, and whoever made the toy to begin with should be arrested. I mean, come on, it's obvious what it is, right? It's a big sausage. It was a big red sausage, and you had to twist and pull it as fast as possible. And it was so
'Cause
obvious what it was,
what
right?
could
And,
be any other reason
I
for
mean,
doing
what
that?
else could it be, right? I mean,
Oh boy.
and it's these are, there's a gazillion channel. People keep telling me about, Joe Rogan freaks out about some of these kids that do toy reviews, and that they're getting like, they're apparently, there's a kid that does toy reviews, he's like, I don't know, 8 years old or something, and he's worth billions or something. I don't know, he's worth like a lot of money.
That just shows how many children are left to their devices and just allowed because, oh, it's just slime videos. Oh, it's just toy videos. It's
Well,
okay.
you know, and I think about this too, about toys, because um, I was fortunate as a kid to grow up as a boy, and people may not know what that means these days, but you know, like out in the dirt, you know, digging up worms and catching snakes and building tree forts and fishing, and you know, that's what I did as a kid. Building bike ramps. I was always outside, always, and playing sports. If I wasn't playing sports, I was outside, and if, you know, and if I was in school, I was in hell. Um, what the kids are today, and what they, you know, like when you think about toys to begin with, it's like, okay, yeah, I had some toys when I was a kid. I put them away when I was 11, and that was it. Um, Even then, the concept of a toy loses its value really quickly. Like I have nieces and nephews that have umpteen toys, like more toys than you can shake a stick at, and it's like, surely they're not going to be worse off if they lost half or three-quarters of them, right? I mean, it's not, most of the toys that people buy, it's just the rituals of, you know, the Saturnalia sort of Christmas rituals and stuff like that, the birthday gifts, and I understand that, but ultimately, gifts mean so much more when they're actually made by the person that provided you. It's like your grandmother making you a sweater, or you know, some like your father carving you you know, a toy out of, you know, a piece of wood or something like that.
I actually have a gift that was made for me when I was a child. My grandfather surprised all of us and had all of these little wooden outhouses lined up on the mantle with our names written on them. And then he had my oldest cousin put a quarter in. It was a bank, and they explode. There's a mousetrap inside. So he gave us all
Oh,
mousetrap
how
banks.
clever.
And I still have it. And I get people with it all the time.
And
It's really
that's
fun.
what that means something to you.
Yeah.
That has motion because that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So like I would argue that the best toy that a young boy could have would be a soccer ball.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Or like
or
a
a
pocket knife,
hockey
but
stick or
that's not a
something,
toy.
like something that would keep you outside, that would keep you fit, that would actually make you a better person, and that would make you much more sociable because you'd be playing with other people. But these toys are the opposite. These toys, and I've never really looked into the toy industry. That's one thing I've never done. So maybe now I'm going to start thinking about it because I'm like, whoa, look at all this stuff. Look at all the goo, the slime, all these slime challenges where they're sticking with the teens and the porn. It's called glory holes. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it comes from the gay community. So the gay, and I always say this, I have to say it over and over again, nothing against gay people. And I know there's a lot of good gay people that don't do this type of shit. But in the gay culture, one of the things that they would do at parties and clubs and stuff like that is have these glory holes where, you know, somebody's Johnson would go into the hole and you wouldn't know who it was, and you would have sex anonymously with these people. And so in many ways, this is extended into the popular culture, all by design, where they have people reaching into boxes and they put animals and spiders and stuff, and then they put gross things, and then they put slime and stuff like that. And that's all part of, in my belief, the conditioning to get you into that mindset. Like to get, well, you know, you put your hand in the slime, why don't you stick your dick in the hole?
Yeah.
Right? Right? I mean, come on, everybody's doing it. It's like I showed years back when Tana Mongeau or Mongeau got on top of Shane Dawson after watching gay porn, by the way, on their phone,
Ugh.
and pissed on him. You know, in a live video that got about 7 or 8 million views, the last count I saw.
Thankfully,
And
I've never seen any of her videos. I've only
oh,
seen, like, when you use her in clips, like, "Don't watch fat girls eating cupcakes."
oh
That's
no,
her,
that's
right?
Trisha Paytas. That's not even.
Oh,
Oh no, no,
wrong
yeah,
one.
no,
Who's
no.
this one?
Yeah, no, no, she's worse. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Tana Mongeau, I mean, Joe, or whatever she calls herself, is one of the most hideous personalities in the history of YouTube. And that's saying
ugh,
something. I mean, this is a girl who made her entire claim to fame off of fake stalking. She claimed she was stalked in grade 2 and her entire life by the same stalker. And she gave all these bullshit stories and even read texts that were widely available on the internet that she downloaded and claimed for her own. And it's just so wretched. I covered that years back on Supreme Lord Commander. A lot of people then did the same thing and exposed her and got way more views because that's the kind of way that they keep people away from work like mine. But these people are awful human beings. They are just wretched human beings. They're everything. Like I would be the first person to recommend when somebody does, like, somebody's got good content. I'd be the first person to say that person's got, even if it's like tech or something like that, or you know, building or music or whatever it might be. If you're doing something and it's pure, it's good, you're doing it and you don't have any agendas and you're not pushing any debauchery, I'm going to be very supportive, and I'll definitely recommend you. I'll support you. I'll thumbs you up. I'll do whatever I can. But the popular YouTubers that have all the influence are pushing the worst type of New World Order programming on all their listeners. And I have a hard time watching these people. You know, like Tana Mongeau, for instance, would get wasted on camera. And you're talking to like a 17-year-old girl at the point in time. And she would sit there and she goes, I'm going to watch my friends have sex in front of me live. So she would do a live stream of her sitting there watching and listening to her friends having sex in front of her, just
on
slightly
YouTube.
off camera. Right. And it's like, it's so wretched because it's like, what are you doing? I mean, how has YouTube allowed this? Why? Well, because YouTube is not It's not good people. It's just not. I'm sorry to break it to you. The people that run it are not, in my opinion, are not good at all. They're bad, and they have no. There was a video that I often reference, which had it was a gay porn video, and it was on YouTube for a month. It got over 500,000 views, and it had gang banging, it had pissing, fisting, shitting, and it had over 500,000 views when I covered it, and it wasn't even censored. It wasn't even 18 and over, and the comments on the video that were getting thousands of thumbs up were saying, report it. You know, this is disgusting. How is this still up? And so I made a video about it and freaked out about it. And a few days later, the video was finally pulled. But YouTube left that up for over a month, and knowing that probably thousands of people flagged the video. And that is the reality of what YouTube does and is, and you know, and why should it surprise you? I mean, this is what your your entertainment industry is. This is what they do on a daily basis. You know, I mentioned Sense8 the other day from the Wachowski, or from not the other day, today in the video, the Sense8, which is the Wachowski brothers who created the series The Matrix and gave us all the red pill, right, to wake us up, of course. That's before they became the Wachowski sisters, of course. Both brothers transition. I'm not sure the tribe, of course, but they both transition because that's perfectly normal. And they create the show called Sense8, which features a mixed casts of, you know, there's a couple trannies mixed with a couple homosexuals mixed with some heterosexuals. And the big Christmas sort of episode, Bash, featured a full-blown orgy in a hot tub featuring all the different genders. I mean, and this is a show that they put a lot of effort, and they hire good writers, and you know, it's dramatically done. I don't know, I haven't even seen it, but I'm just imagining it's kind of like Game of Thrones, but for people that are a little bit even sicker, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, this is what our entertainment industry is. It's not good. Porn is the #1 thing on the internet, and it is being normalized everywhere. I talked years back about Philip DeFranco. I showed how Philip DeFranco was wearing porn shirts in some of his newscasts, advertising porn websites, normalizing porn. And this is what they do. They're doing this to all of us. And the solution, of course, is to save yourself and your family. That is the solution, because you're not going to save the rest of humanity. You can do your best, but it's very hard to break that programming. It's very, very hard to reach people. And all we can do is try. And that's what I try to do, and I get censored. So, but I don't have any illusions that somehow everyone's going to be woken up, or even if people were woken up, that they would have the wherewithal to be able to even begin to understand and how to change. I mean, it takes a bit of time to change somebody into something else, but it can be I imagine a job and a half trying to change somebody that's gone down one of these paths, that's ended up on Rainbow Unicorn Alley, back to a normal person, because they're banning gay conversion therapy everywhere, by the way.
Oh, I see it at my city council meetings.
Yeah,
Yep.
because it's evil, it's barbaric. Well, wait a second. You know, it's the birds, the bees, the flowers, and the trees. It's okay if you choose it, but if you wanna clear yourself of it, well, by all means, you should have because it's not what you're meant to be. Nobody's meant to be that. It's not what makes the world go round. You're not. You know, if everybody was like that, that would be the end. You know, it'd be the end of everyone. It'd be one generation, we're gone. So, but yeah, this is how they function. They are hitting us everywhere, and they're going for the children. That's the most devious thing, and that's what I said about this Toys and Me. It's the rainbow unicorns all over it. It's interracial. It's child pedophilia, overt pedophilia all over it.
It is
And
disgusting. What is this poopsy stuff? And I was in the
Yeah.
toy department the other day, and there were 2 different games, like board games, about poop.
Yeah, yeah,
One was a
exactly.
toilet. It was really, really just weird. I
It's
don't understand.
the rainbow unicorn poop.
Yeah.
You just put that into a search, you get 8 billion different results. They're selling dolls
I
now that do rainbow unicorn poops, and
I
that you
saw it
can
at Best Buy the
and
other
you can
day.
eat it.
Yeah. Ew. Oh,
Well,
gosh.
they want you there's a video there, which is amazing, which is the one with the unicorn and the Israeli company that sells this little, stool that you use for pooping.
Oh,
And it's quite a video because it's got a rainbow unicorn that is pooping out ice cream,
yeah.
and it has a guy and he's licking the ice cream. And they're basically showing you. They're just basically saying, "This is what we're doing to you." You know,
I
you can
guess
wake up to it, or you can continue to consume it, sort of thing.
I did see you showed that, right? Yeah. I didn't know that was a real thing. Sometimes you just see videos
Yeah,
and, ugh.
yeah. It's all over. This is what YouTube is. I mean, it's and the poopsie stuff. Like you see that thumbnail, the giant poopsie slime surprise toilet,
Yeah.
and they got the rainbow sort of slime emerging from the toilet,
Ugh,
you
yeah.
know, and yeah, I mean, I mean, it is so evil what they're doing. It really, really is, and it's hard. It's very hard. I get very emotional doing this. It takes a lot out of me because I don't want to. I would much rather, it'd be great if it wasn't this bad. It would be great if the average person said this type of stuff is just awful. Get it off now, and that any of this crap that would come out, there would be a big controversy, and it would immediately be taken down. But that's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. Now, somebody Wake Now is saying in the chat that that video was up for 6 months. Pardon me for getting that wrong. In fact, that's very important to state if that's the case, because I mean it just goes to show you. I mean, I'm not joking when the top comments that were getting thousands of thumbs up were saying report it. This is disgusting. This is what? How many reports does it take before YouTube actually gets the message? Well, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and yeah, they're doing evil. That's what they're doing. It's pure evil. And
On that
children. Sorry, go ahead.
on that Good Morning America video with Desmond is amazing. There were comments all through there with people saying they'd reported it. They couldn't believe that that was up, and it's horrible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The Desmond is I did a video on Desmond years back, and I'm pretty damn sure it was Desmond that said, if you have parents that don't let you be trans, get new parents. Like a kid should ever have that. I mean, option. I mean, it's so insane. And of course, you go, well, that's silly. That's not going to happen. Well, guess what? In Ontario, they passed a bill, Bill 81, in which the government now can legally take custody of your child if you do not recognize its chosen sexual orientation, gender, and
And then when
the
you
gender.
think of the people that get their children taken away from them for child abuse, that when there's, I mean, when I put a comment on your one video that you did on Steam It, and it was showing these children that were trans and their parents, it was as though the mothers were just feeding the whole notion to these children that they were the reason that these children had these ideas. Like mom wanted a little girl, and
Well,
instead she got a little boy.
did you see? I mean, you could search this right now on Google, and you could put an image search in for transgender bear, and you get some pretty interesting things, because what you'll get is the how a mother or a parent should react. And you just look at the images. So you click on the image tab there. Yeah, you see where the mother bear is right in the center there, the black bear. Yeah, that's the one right there. And that this is what a mother should do to protect her trans child. And there's a gazillion images like this. You'll see them all over. And it's
But
like,
they're the ones that are doing it.
yeah, it's
They're
like it should be the opposite.
yeah.
You should be fighting tooth and nail to make sure that your child is normal. Um, and anything but trans, anything. I mean, get the hell out of town. Dude, that's going to destroy their life. That is going to destroy their life. And it's nothing against trans people. I mean, I feel nothing but sympathy. I mean, they're victims, without a doubt. And there's a lot of factors that are playing into their confusion, which a lot of them are chemical and biological as well. But the programming and everything on top of it is just out of this world. But this is how they program people. They want to program parents. The Jazz Jennings family is beyond wretched. They are awful human beings. I've always been careful not to target Jazz himself, whether it's an actual legit transgender. But the family they are awful people, and they have now a new show. There's a new live reality show that is out, the Purple Rainbow, of course. And they push this narrative everywhere that if your child identifies as trans, you have to go into action right away. And it doesn't matter how young it is. So they give the example of Jazz, and they said Jazz declared herself, whatever, as a boy or as a girl at 2 years old. So they claimed that it was a 2-year-old kid, and he came down the stairs and said, I'm a girl. And the mother immediately said, okay. And she said she went out and bought dresses the next day. Yeah. And it's like, in no way are you a good parent. There's no way that it's possible that you're a good parent. I would say that you are a wretched criminal and you should be locked up for good. I would throw away the key. And if you see these people, and then if you realize that Jazz Jennings is the cover poster child, Jennings Jenner, of course, there's no accident there, that Jazz Jennings has been the poster child for transitioning kids, trans kids, for the past decade, over a decade now, because they started when it was 6. I think Jazz now is 17. And she's been on every major, Katie Couric, Oprah Winfrey, you name it, Baba Wawa. They've all interviewed her. They've all had her on the shows. She's appeared multiple times with Caitlyn Jenner. It's all a psyop. And of course she pushes the not just the rainbow, the purple rainbow, but the mermaid symbolism. And they use the mermaid everywhere to program people into their sort of toxic New World Order sexualities and embracing loneliness and embracing lesbianism and all this stuff, like just taking people out of the gene pool through their hideous machinations. And they're making people depressed. I mean, you eat the foods, this, and you probably know this better than anybody because you're so actively involved in the food area. I mean, you eat that food, you're not going to be well.
No.
You can't be.
Yeah.
So if you're in that realm and you're eating that food and you're watching all that crap, you're going to be a sick person. And that's exactly what they're normalizing. They're making people sick, and then they're coming in and they're normalizing it. And then they're saying, well, you can't say anything about it, or your diversity is strength, like they that one always cracks me up. Diversity is strength, or the best, vulnerability is strength. That one is the ultimate kicker. Vulnerability is strength.
I actually heard someone say that in one of the Silicon Valley shows I watch.
Yeah, you could search that term and you'll see a gazillion articles on that, on just that thing. Oh, all these articles, diversity or no, vulnerability is strength. TED Talks, TEDx, of course, and all these presentations, New York Times, right? The Wall Street Journal. I mean, they all got articles on it. Vulnerability is strength. The new strength is vulnerability. I mean, it is so patently absurd. It's like it is doublespeak. It's taking definitions, terms that have been properly defined. I mean, that's one thing about the English language. It's a very economical, it's a very mathematical sort of language. It just gets rid of all the bullshit and it gets clear. And vulnerability is strength is everywhere. And it's like, no, actually, the actual definition of vulnerability is weakness. I mean, it actually means weakness. So you can't say weakness equals strength. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And again, on top of that, the bullying thing. Okay. So I don't like, I suffered from bullying when I was a kid. And of course, I just punched back harder, sort of thing. And that solved my bullying problem. And that is really the answer to bullying. But all this anti, end hate. You can't end hate. If you have no hate, you have no love. You can't have one without the other. You're going to have hate. It's normal to hate things. It's normal to be annoyed. It's normal to not like other people. It's normal not to be trustful of people that look different than you. It's normal. It's what we are. We're cavemen. We look at another tribe's coming on our territory, and we're like, well, I don't know if that's good for us. Well, no, we're terrible people. No, actually, we're smart people, because it might not be good for us. It might actually be that your apprehension that is hardwired into your body, because we are cavemen, is actually alerting you to a potential threat. And they want to take that and say, no, no, you're a terrible person because you don't accept diversity. You don't. And I have no problem with diversity. I have no problem whatsoever with immigration, or, I mean, to a certain extent. But what I'm trying to state is that they are trying to reconstruct what we are biologically and emotionally and sexually, and just what we are, or what we, and that's why I always say we're cavemen. I mean, and it's not a bad thing at all. In fact, I think it's a great thing. I think a caveman is an extremely capable person. You go back 10,000 years, the average man was stronger than a bodybuilder, way stronger than a bodybuilder. I mean, incredibly strong. It's like you can't get that strength from working out with weights. You can't do it because all day long you're doing things that are extremely physical. The average woman was much stronger. The average tribe, had to come together and overcome all these obstacles. We have nothing to be ashamed about of where we came from. It's a marvel that we've made it this far. In fact, I often marvel at going in a big city and how safe everything is. And that's not the result of the New World Order. The New World Order is trying to destroy all that. We have to understand that. That's what's at threat. All this peace and harmony came from things like the United States Constitution, having the rights, Bill of Rights, having things that, and just having a society that we are able to have a voice and have safeness and all these things. This is what they're turning upside down, and this is what they're eradicating. So they're trying to destroy the rights of what we have. Like I've said, like the freedom of speech, for instance, which is being wiped out under the guise of diversity, under the guise of end hate. Right? We have to end hate. We have to end racism. Well, you're not going to end racism. Just stop. All right. If people want to be racist, let them be racist. People want to hate, let them hate, by all means, because that means we're free.
Yep.
If you ban that, then you're going to force those people that have those emotions to go underground, if you will, and potentially become militaristic and stuff like that, and whatever else. But on top of that, you're going to program people into a completely unnatural human sort of behavior, because humans, if we're cavemen, those are natural reactions. It's natural for us to be apprehensive of strangers. It's natural. If you're not apprehensive of strangers, you're not functioning well. It doesn't mean you got to be paranoid, but it's a natural human sort of thing. And to discount that, or to say that is a negative thing is so disingenuous. It's just crazy what they're doing.
I agree. I do. I wanted to just draw attention. I did look at the chat here for a second, and I'm a Werewolf was pointing out about Desmond, how he's hanging out with club kids, and he had shared some videos. Well, he didn't say club kids there, someone else did, but he had shared some videos the other day that were just crazy with that child, I tell you. And then they're also mentioning over there how your gut bacteria is also affecting your mental health. And that's one thing that you remember Jules from UCY TV. Yeah. She was looking at the gut bacteria for a while there, and I was looking with her, and it's like the whole land of probiotics has been hijacked by synthetic biology. Like they made little life that isn't even the natural thing for your guts, but that there's a direct connect with their vagus nerve to your brain with it. And they're taking over in every way possible. It's crazy.
Yeah, and the food is a whole, I mean, literally a whole another kettle of fish, right? I mean, it's what are they doing to our foods, and how does that affect us, and how does that affect your children? That's the most important thing. That's what I say, because like the most of us that are a bit older might not have grown up as kids with heavy genetically modified foods. Heavy, well, we probably had the pesticides and stuff like that. So, you know, but the kids today are, their cells are forming. And this is where it's so insidious, because if you have all these cells forming, it's like little babies drinking from bottles and getting the BPA, right? It's like, well, the BPA is going to mess with their hormonal system. It's going to mess them up. It could turn, and this could be the result, or one of the reasons why you have so many people that are
Yeah.
completely confused. And that's
Yep.
why you have to be somewhat sympathetic, because you have to say, well, they are doing this shit to people, and this is what's happening. So when they do this, we're all, that we're all guinea pigs. Like, none of these things are being properly studied. The aspartame, and all these chemicals that are permitted by the FDA. It just is rubber stamping, basically. Is like it was Donald Rumsfeld that brought in aspartame, for instance, right? It's just like, well, here's some money, behind the table, get this thing through, and we'll just, get it out there. And so you have, for instance, in the United States, and I believe in Canada, you have brominated vegetable oil that is legal for whatever reason. I mean, it's one of the most toxic substances out there, and it's banned all throughout the world, but it's in your soft drinks here. It's, and if I show this all the time too. I say, like, oh, brominated vegetable oil. Now look what it does to your teeth, and all you have to do is look up Mountain Dew mouth, and then you see what it does to people's teeth. I don't know if you've ever seen that. You might want to brace yourself if you do look that up. But
Should we go look?
yeah, Mountain Dew mouth is it's a well-known sickness in the Appalachians, where people are they like Mountain Dew,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They like Mountain Dew. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And so it has brominated vegetable oil, and that's what it does to your teeth. So if it does that to your teeth,
What about the rest of you?
yeah, what's it doing to your what's going?
Oh,
And this is no joke. This is no joke. So they do the do. And
this
they
one
have
here. Oh, jeez.
yeah, that
No,
ostrich.
this terrible. But
Now, the way this works too is that the pop culture. So I cover a game called Overwatch, and one of the main characters of Overwatch is a sexual sort of Korean girl who's in a giant mech suit, which simulates pedophilia, by the way. And her whole theme is to drink Mountain Dew and eat Doritos. And out of that, of course, came what do you call it? Another fad or meme or whatever you want to say. And they had all these people that were blending Doritos and Mountain Dew together.
ew,
And
blending them or just
yeah,
oh,
absolutely. Like, just like the Tide Pods, the exact same thing, and drinking it down. So you could do a search here. Yeah, just put it in. Put Mountain Dew Doritos, and then you
okay.
see all the people doing the challenges. And this is how they control us, right? And it's like, like,
Hey,
if yeah, there's
isn't that
Boogie.
yeah, that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
This is what they're doing to you. And they're using all their cultural icons that they create to get you to
Did it
to
again.
mimic the behavior and consume the products, and to think that there's nothing toxic in these products when the proof is in the pudding. I mean, if Mountain Dew does that to your teeth, what is it doing to your intestines?
Oh yeah.
And that's I mean, that's something that most of us don't think about. We think about digestion, maybe because it immediately affects us and stuff, but we don't think of how these things are affecting our digestional system, sort of thing. We're not thinking about what effect they're having on our liver and whatever else, and of course our hormones, our endocrine system, sort of thing, right? That what are the effects of these toxic products. And one of the things that they do, like, you see that guy there with the beard, the epic mealtime type of programming that's all over YouTube.
The pizza?
The epic mealtime.
Oh.
These guys are of a certain tribe. I'm not sure which one. And they're all over YouTube. The trend, of course, is to eat more of the awful food, as much of the awful food as possible. And so the Nathan's hot dogs is a great example of that, where there's a competition. Are you familiar with that they have every year?
Yeah.
And they they'll have people come out and eat like 70, 80, 100 hot dogs in one in like a 2 minute span.
And they live
And they live,
somehow.
yeah. And they train themselves. They claim they're like athletes, and I guess in a way they have to be, or at least their stomachs have to be. But the grander scheme that's happening, I think Nathan's, New York City, not sure the tribe, and then you think about, well, what are they doing? Well, they're pushing people to consume the mukbang, right? Like to consume as much of this toxic food as possible, and not only do it, but to put yourself on the internet doing it, and then you'll be rewarded with clicks and potentially ka-ching if you get enough clicks, sort of thing. And it's all the toxic foods, the toxic lifestyles, the fast food, especially. Like you never, I mean, I'm sure there's a mukbang for like good home cooking, but for the most part, mukbang is KFC, it's McDonald's, it's Burger Thing. It's all the worst of the worst, and it's and that's what I say about. I've said it many times before about fast food, is that it's full of chemicals, and this, in many ways, I think, like people talk about the tobacco industry and what was leaked about the tobacco industry, which I'm sure was a controlled leak and was well kind of laid out, sort of thing. Although the tobacco corporations had to pay out massive lawsuits and all that, but they're still functioning for the most part. Was that they were injecting nicotine into their cigarettes, so they were artificially enhancing not only nicotine, but they were also putting all kinds of other chemicals to purposely addict, knowing, of course, that these things were killing people. Like they consciously knew that these things kill people, and they went and they said, how can we get more people to do these things and become addicted and eventually die, of course, because that would be the end result of everyone that smokes. I mean, everyone that smokes, you're going to die of lung cancer unless you have superb genes. I don't know. You have, maybe if you have what's that swimmer guy lungs there, maybe somehow, but for the most part, everybody dies of cancer if you smoke cigarettes. Well, I believe that and I can't corroborate it at this moment in time, but I believe that the fast food industry purposely puts chemicals in their foods to addict people and to keep them coming back.
Well, the Impossible Burger, I covered that in some of my videos here. That one, they openly talk about the craveability factor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cravability.
yeah, and that's coming to store shelves near you. They're everywhere. That's coming out.
Impossible burger. So
Yeah, they're
what's
also doing.
impossible
Well,
about it?
they have modified yeast to brew their core ingredient to make it taste and look meaty.
So it's
They
not meat. It's
No, yeah,
yeah.
it's plant-based food.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
plant-based, and they are in White Castle, they're in all kinds of fast food restaurants, and they're currently just in restaurants, but they're coming raw. They're saying it's gonna be raw to the grocery stores, and so they had to get all kinds of more clearance because of the rawness, because it'd be red still because of the heme
Yeah.
ingredient, but yeah, it's the craveability. It's more of it. I don't know if you can hear, and I'm sorry if to everybody, if you can't, the kitten just woke up and she is just meowing all over the place. So sorry if
No.
that's coming through, but she's going a little crazy. But I wanted to mention in the fast food land, a lot of these channels, and sorry to go back to these. I know this
No,
is
no,
mild
no,
mild
by all
mannered,
means.
but I need to just point at a couple other things
Yeah.
that they are pushing McDonald's in these the the different channels. The one here, there's a family group, that YouTube family. They all have their own shows. They all have their own
Yeah.
channels. And another funny thing with these people, I'm pretty sure it was these people, they hide this is the sons, this is the boys, but they hide the little Guy Fawkes masks, the anonymous masks. They
Ah.
put them through a lot of their videos. It's some like
Mhm.
game master, some secret person that's leaving them.
That's also from the Wachowski sisters, by the way.
Oh yeah?
Well, I mean, the Guy Fawkes thing goes back further, but it's from the V for Vendetta,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, they did that?
Yeah,
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
yeah. So it's all part of your controlled conditioning, sort of. We're gonna wake you up, but not really. In fact, we're gonna put you even further to sleep.
I know that
Um, yeah,
these
go ahead.
this sorry, this family, you'll love the names like this one's Just Jordan
Oh
33.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
with the JJ and the
JJ
33.
33. Yeah.
Yeah, and then their other daughter is All Around Audrey, and
I
these
wonder which
people
tribe.
yeah, they're all supposedly the same family, and I saw that they're all through this cherry pick talent agency. You've
Oh, look
spoken
who it
about
is. Yeah, I
yeah,
recognize some of these people right away. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
and that's not a good.
this girl, she just I saw her channel once, she dumps stuff over her head at the end of her videos, like, she's, "I'll dump this hot sauce," or whatever, all over my head, and that's her shtick.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, they
understand.
remember the ice bucket challenge?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
All these things again and again and again, they're all the same. When everyone's doing it, you know the fix is on.
yeah.
Nothing becomes viral unless they want it to become viral. Look at this Mother Puka.
She only has 2,000
Is
subscribers.
she like
She's
a
up and coming.
cougar or something? She's got
Yeah.
I mean, and then you got gorgeous movies, and it's the guy with a was it Transformers mask or something on him?
Yeah.
And then you
Well,
got Sophie Grace with the white rabbit, which of course is all tying into their pedophilia. They use that symbolism everywhere. Wow, I mean, Kitty's mama.
yeah.
And
But
it's not necessarily that all there's the V symbol. It's not necessarily that all of these people are self-conscious shills. Like a
no.
lot of the kids probably aren't. They're probably just they they're told, or they're like, okay, put this stuff or do this or whatever, and they don't really understand. Um, but yeah, it doesn't really excuse it in the end, because we have to call a spade and call out what they do. Zoella, I got hit with that one just recently because Zoella, and it was the what was it, the
Yeah,
Vlogmas.
that
And
was
and
her.
and yeah, and it was like, okay, I covered her before, and she does this every year, and I was showing people, like, it doesn't even start in December. It starts in like November, and pretty soon it'll be in July. Vlogmas, day 361 or something. I mean, they and it's supposed to revolve around Christmas, but it's just these people showing what they're doing on a daily basis, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, I really am sorry. Nobody's that important.
Yeah, but
Nobody.
it gets people used to having their lives watched, or the idea like, they might
Well,
want their
that's
lives
sickness.
watched.
That's sickness.
Yeah.
That's like the Shaytards. So the Shaytards, the first, and they're supposedly Mormons. The first, that's a whole nother thing too. But they're the first YouTube family, and I used to bash them to hell and back and say, like, look, they got newborn babies, they got 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. These kids have no idea that the concept of every bit of their lives being broadcast up to the rest of the world. I mean, you have no idea how this is going to affect them in the future, how it'll affect their upbringing. And I'll at least say, from what I saw, that it appeared that Shay Carl and his wife were not terrible parents, in the sense that they seemed to love their kids, at least in the early days, until they had all their drama, and Shay Carl got caught sexting and doing all this creepy stuff, and that's a whole nother thing. But the bottom line is that nobody's life, like, I often mention Charles Barkley. I have to give it to Charles Barkley, because he's like the common sense athlete, who says, he said this years back. It was like 10 years ago, when I think when Instagram or Twitter first appeared, and he's like, if you're on the computer and you're going to check to see what Magic Johnson had for dinner, you are a fucking loser. And I always mention that because it was true then. It's even more true today. Nobody's life. I mean, like, it depends what you're showing. Like, if you have an audience that you've built, like, say you are an engineer, or you're a musician, or you're an artist, you have an audience that you're connected to and you talk to on a daily basis, then it could be understood that now and again you might come in and say, oh, look, I just did this, or maybe you'd bring the occasional family member to do an interview. I can understand that stuff. I'm not saying all that, but I mean, like, to go around showing your daily life. Here's me driving to the store. Here's me at the store. Here's me, ordering something. Here's me standing in line. Here's me looking at the accessories. Here's me in the beauty section. I mean, nobody on planet Earth needs to see that ever. And that is the narcissism that YouTube puts first and foremost. That's what it says. YouTube, this is what you should be. You should be Shane Dawson, where every bit of your life is being broadcast to the rest of the world. And it's extremely toxic. And you should be living your lives. Like, I often make fun of photographs and images where you see people, and it could be a celebrity, right? And there could be like hundreds of people, and everybody's holding up a cell phone, or people at a concert, and they're all holding up their cell phones to capture the image of the band playing in front of them. And it's like, do you realize that you are actually at the show? The whole purpose of being at the show is to be there in person so that you can experience it, not so that you can collect an image to show to the rest of humanity to prove that you were actually at the show. And that is what they're doing to people. It's like you're losing out on life to try to capture your 15 minutes or whatever, right? The toxic sort of celebrity lifestyle that they engineer, or they program people into craving. And I honestly say I couldn't crave it less. Like, I couldn't be more turned off by the narcissism of these people, especially YouTube, where in the past you had celebrities, and you can say about some celebrities, you can say some movie stars, for instance. Like, I can think of a few offhand. Harrison Ford would be a good example of somebody. He hates the spotlight. Paul Newman, who was somebody I actually admired and looked up to as an actor, who hated the spotlight, and devoted his later life to charities and stuff like that, because he didn't need the money and he already had enough, sort of thing. But the thing is that there are celebrities that became successful that were really good at their craft. So say it's making movies or starring a movie, you become really successful, you become really good, but you don't want any of your life to be in the public sphere, because it's awful, and that there's all kinds of freaks and all that. So it's only common sense that anybody would guard their privacy from strangers. But that is the exact opposite of what YouTube and the New World Order is programming people into. They're saying, put everything you do. Now, if I was a real sick person, Camille, if I was a stalker, I could locate a lot of these YouTube celebrities and find ways into their homes just from their videos.
Yeah, if they live there, right?
Well, if they live, yeah, but
Instagram houses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but
sure, yeah.
That's just that is just why, that's just on the surface why that's so dangerous, because it's like, well, you don't know who's on the internet, you don't know who's there, you don't know what what kind of creeps, there's stalkers, there's insane people, there's all kinds of weirdos. And
it's normal people who aren't influencers and everything for YouTube to do the same things. And then, the crazy stalkers can go digging into their house where they actually live.
I was laughing because I saw not too long ago H3 Ethan Klein, not sure the tribe, and he was doing this show with Bill Burr, and Bill Burr was just roasting him on open coals. He didn't buy any of the H3 act. He just thought the guy was a complete phony. He had no respect for him. And so H3 Klein was trying to ask him about his family. He's like, how many nephews you have? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, how many nephews do you have? 2, 3? He's like, why am I going to tell you? Well, it's something, we're talking about it. He's like, do you know how many freaks are on the internet? No, I'm not going to give you that information. You don't need to know that. Yeah. He's right. I mean, because you can almost respect the old school type celebrity mentality when you have those people that would say, I don't want any of my life, any of my children's life, or any of that stuff to be accessible to anyone except people that I love.
Yeah, so what's wrong with these people? putting their children. It's so
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
It's nuts. It's like, what's wrong
It's
with you, mom and dad?
yeah, well, they're bad. I can tell you, Toys and Me are those are people that you know, accident happened, I wouldn't feel bad. Like that black guy there in his,
Yeah.
they're awful human beings. I
Oh,
covered
he's
them.
creepy.
They're
He's like does this stuff with his tongue in a lot
yeah,
of videos right up at the camera. Oh my gosh.
they're New World Order shills, and they're here to push these. You can see the rainbow unicorn there. You'll see it everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere in their videos. You can't avoid it. Their symbol before they changed it here was a rainbow unicorn. It was all rainbow up at the top.
Now it's pushing the merch.
Yeah, the merch.
Yeah.
And they all have merch, and the merch, all the merch. I showed this over the years. All the popular YouTubers merch. They almost always have a gender suck T-shirt. It's almost uncanny. Like whether it's Shane Dawson or Tana Mongeau or
Oh.
you know, any of these other ones. You know, gender suck. Like, okay, I think they suck too. There's two sexes. How about that? That simplifies things. But that's of
Oh.
course not the intent. But yeah, it is a wretched hive of you know, it is just it is what it is.
Now
And it's
this
not getting better, it's getting much worse. That is a fact. I can definitely attest to that. So, you know, we have to do our best to try. I mean, you got to protect your family, and you got to talk about this stuff. I believe. I mean, you have to pick your spots, especially with some people, right? And you don't want to shovel. You don't want to shovel, you know, boatloads of information when the person's only ready for a teaspoon. So you have to kind of, you know, you have to, and then, you know, you just have to kind of, but you should talk about this stuff. You should try to talk to family and friends if you know that they're to partaking in it. So like I have a family member who's addicted to Fortnite.
oh,
So that's something that I'm going to try to help that person with and see if you know, short of banning their access to their you know, gaming platform sort of thing.
a
Um
1 week fast could do a lot, you know, if you could just get people to put their stuff down for a week. I remember stepping away from the computer for a week when I was looking at news a lot back years
yeah,
ago here, and that was a powerful week to just
it is.
realize that none of it actually affected my life, and
Well,
it
that's
was
it. I mean, ultimately we can all and I will choose this. I mean, it's definitely going to happen where I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to just turn away from it all and practice what I preach, which I already do, by the way. But I'm just saying, like, maybe become a content provider of just healthy living, basically, as opposed to somebody that breaks down the mind control. The ultimately this stuff can destroy you, knowing it and even being like I used to be subscribed to all the well, all of the, I was subscribed to a lot of truther channels, and I'm barely subscribed to many these days at all. I mean,
yeah.
it's I am very careful, and besides, I don't have the time to watch every little, you know, video that comes in. But I and it's always been my thing to be a media analyst as opposed to somebody who's a truther analyst, because you can fall into that realm as well, because there's just so many shill operations at foot. And then you could fall into the, well, I'm doing important work because I'm exposing, you know, lift the toilet seat or something like that. I'm not saying that's not important, but there are way bigger things going on that are, you know, socially engineering all of humanity. And that, in my opinion, is where people should be focused. You're not going to be able to take out the shills that are there, but everyone should do their best to expose them.
Oh, yeah, and
But
your outreach to the children, I'll say it again, is so important. I mean, I know that it sucks to look at these things, but I don't think a lot of parents are looking at it maybe if these children are allowed to watch this stuff that,
no, they're not.
you
Well,
know.
what
Yeah.
do they have the time?
Yeah.
What are the parents looking at? They're looking at porn. They're looking
Yeah.
at, you know, the Game of Thrones, which is porn anyways, right? I mean, it's
I never saw it, but
well, it's incest. It's game of incest. It's that's what it is basically. It's hard. Well, there's lots of violence and stuff, but um, Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is that if you like, if you're watching this stuff and you're not aware of what it is, then it's going to hurt you. If
Yeah.
you're watching this stuff and you are aware of this, it still can hurt you because you're still watching it. It still hurts because you're being affected by it, because you get emotional. Like I get emotional when I see these things, and then I have to process that, and then the question becomes: is it worth, the emotional sort of thing that you go through, um, to try to reach people with this, and then you have to balance that, because you have to say, okay, how much of this is it hurting my life, or is it making me depressed? And if it's any of those things, then yeah, it's a time to step away for sure. As long as you are in a good state of mind, and that's the most important thing, is that you keep yourself balanced at all times, and that you realize that, as evil as this stuff is, it doesn't have to control you. It does. Again, I don't believe that turning your back on everything is going to be the solution either, because I think that you have to pay attention, because the laws change, and when these agendas become legislation, that's when they become extremely dangerous. And that's ultimately what's happening in Canada, where all these laws have changed, and now basically freedom of speech is being wiped out. And that's largely because people are not paying attention and have no idea and have no moral compass to begin with, are so programmed by their media that they don't have the wherewithal intellectually to process what's actually happening. So they don't know, well, you know what? This Bill C-16 that says you can't say anything about transgenders or anything like that, or you could be arrested if you use the wrong pronouns. That's actually an attack on freedom of speech, and that actually might be very dangerous. I should do something to prevent this from passing. Well, that didn't happen, of course, and not enough, at least. And these things pass through, and they're chipping away at our freedom. So the answer, you can pull yourself out of this. Like, you can homeschool, which everyone should do. You can get off their bankster system, right? Get yourself out of debt, and not put yourself in debt. Don't buy their products. Don't consume their foods. Do not, grow your own foods, even if you can, hobby farm, whatever, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do. Ultimately, that would be you taking control. And in many ways, this era, this point in time, this year where we are right now, you have a much better ability to do that than you did in previous generations where the tech wasn't there, right? So look at the glass being half full and say, yeah, I can do this, and I can get away, and there's solar power, stuff like that, that I can get off their grid, and I can get off their system, and then I can protect my offspring and my family, and I could be the change that I want to see, so that other people look at me and say, well, look at that person. That person's got to figure it out. That person, look at them. They're always smiling. They look happy. They look well rested. They look like they're fit. They don't look fat at all. They look, and that's the thing. You try to project that to other people and say, and this is what's all missing when it comes to all the kids. Like, all the kids out there, they need the role models. They need wow, that man, that's a man, right? That's a man that's figured it out. He's look at how good he is at what he does. Look at how he carries himself. Look at the women that he has, right? Look at the family that he has, right? And you say the same thing about the mother. Look at that mother. Look at how beautiful she looks. Look at how confident she is. Look at how her children like her so much. You can take control, and you can be that change. And yeah, it takes effort. Obviously, it takes a lot, but in the end, you win. So there are solutions. But by the same token, if you turn your back on everything that's going on, eventually it's going to come to your front doorstep.
Yep.
And that's what keeps me kind of doing this, is that, yeah, I know exactly what happens. And I know enough about history that this stuff has happened many times before, not the same way, well, in some ways the same way. Bolshevik revolution, for one. But different eras, different times, different methods, perhaps, but nonetheless, if you don't pay attention to what's happening in your own communities, then trouble will happen, and then it'll be too late at that point, unfortunately. So but I still think the balance is so important. The balance is like, all right, I'm going to keep paying attention. I'm going to see whatever they're trying to do, whatever bills they're trying to push. I'm going to keep an eye on Parliament. I'm going to keep, well, here in Canada, the House of Commons. I'm going to pay attention to the Senate. I'm going to pay attention to whatever things that they're drafting, whatever resolutions. I'm going to keep my focus on my municipality if I'm living in one, and I'm going to see what they're doing, and I'm going to be like your mom there. That was
Yeah.
incredible, by the way. I mean, that's very inspiring to see people like that. Takes a ton of courage to get
Oh
up,
yeah.
and she did amazing, and you know that's activism that I think that strengthens us and inspires us, right? If you just sit back and you're like, well, I'm not going to do anything, well, then don't expect to have any effect, and don't expect things to go the way that you hope they go, because they probably won't, because you've chosen to extract yourself from the whole process, sort of thing. So there is that, but I that's what I would say, balance, like, to folks out there, is you know, you can't necessarily be an island by yourself, and you know, but you can build small communities of like-minded people, and you can learn, and you know, be that change you want to see, set that example, so that others look at you and start to see the light. Well, I don't like to use that term, but you know what I mean, like that people would look at what you're doing with your life and how you're affecting your community, or your own community that you're part of, and say, these are people that have figured it out. And so that's what I say. I mean, I see what you're doing, and I see that your mom, you know, being active in the city council, and you know, having the courage to stand up. I think that was the school board, was it, that
Uh, City council. It
city
was.
council? Yeah. So you know, that takes a lot of courage, and hey, that we should all do that. I mean, in the old days, that's what people did. Your village, you know, you had a meeting, everybody attended, because you know, we're all part of this. If we're going to make a decision, we all should know. Well,
Yeah.
how many people actually vote in municipal elections? In fact, your municipal election is far more important than almost anything, really, when it comes to what democratic power you may or may not have. You might actually have democratic power in your municipality. In your municipality, that's where you pay most of your taxes, and that's where most of what is going to directly affect you comes through. So you should be paying attention to that, and you should be active in it if you care, and you want to see better things happen. So.
I say it's definitely important to be paying attention to what they're doing, because yeah, all the different laws that they change and whatnot. But I know from paying attention locally here, as soon as these people, like the new mayor or anything, as soon as they're elected, they get sent off. They go to Harvard. It's where the mayor went to get trained
Oh
on
my gosh.
how to be a mayor. It's, yes, this is your mission. This is
Whoa.
what you do. And nothing actually gets done. The people come to our city council meetings and they complain about all of these different things that are going on, and it's just, yeah, but this is the thing, and it just keeps going. There's that group, the In Power movement. I don't know
Mhm.
if you ever saw them. I don't really follow them, but I've looked at their stuff and how they were going around the system, saying that you can't actually do anything to change it within the system, but that you can hold them liable, like
Yeah.
financially and things like that. And that's pretty interesting. If you had a group of people in your area that you could stick together
Yeah.
and not be
But
just
that's
that
why,
one.
you know, why are we concerned about immigrant families, you know, illegal immigrants that are smuggling their families across the border in, say, you know, Southern California or Texas? Why are we worried about that? Like,
My
why? Why? I mean, what's your connection to those people? You know them? Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're suffering. I'm sure there's a lot of sob stories. I'm sure there's some really nice people in there. But really, there's nice people in your neighborhood, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, why are you worried about that? You should be worried about the things that are immediately affecting your lives, like your children's schooling,
And
like
their
what's on your
entertainment.
television.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like those
Yeah.
are things that you should be concerned about. Yeah, lots of Hollywood movies depicting, almost every Hollywood movie, by the way, is depicting immigrants as the greatest thing since sliced bread. But that's the New World Order, and that's what they want you to do. And it's not, the answer not necessarily is build the wall and go Trump and MAGA, 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 because that's all controlled too. But nonetheless, it's like, well, why are you caring about this stuff? Like seriously, look at all the crap that's happening. Like here in Canada, if people were actually paying attention to what was going on, and they actually, again, if they actually had the intelligence, if they weren't so heavily programmed, then they wouldn't be stealing our rights away, to the point where, now it's legal across the country for boys to shower with girls in arenas and stuff like that, and that the Ontario government could take away your children, and that the Canadian government can have you arrested for using the wrong pronoun. I mean, if you actually took your head out of your ass, and stop worrying about whether Batman can beat up, Superman or whatever, and you paid attention to what's happening right in your own neck of the woods, then you would be active and involved in these things. And the activism too. This is a really crazy thing, because they use activism as a method to control the youth. And an excellent example of that is the March for Our Lies, featuring that hideous puke from hell, David Hogg, who I can only fantasize about what justice that puke deserves. But David, and by the way, Sheriff Israel was arrested the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't checked into it, but I got the headline. So, I mean, Sheriff Israel, who was inspired by the Talmud. Anyways, the thing is that the kids are dumb. Not all kids are dumb. Some kids are really smart, but most kids are dumb. And that's not their fault. They're in the institutions. They're eating poor foods. They're being programmed, and their education system is failing them, and massively, because it's programming them, and it's not making them smarter human beings, not teaching them critical thought. But what it is teaching them is get out and be active. And it's like, you know what? Guns are bad. Here, look, people die. We got to get rid of them. And people are dumb. They can't think. They can't think, well, wait a second. Isn't a gun a tool? What happens if the government has all the guns and the citizens have none? And doesn't that lead to tyranny? And what about Stalin? What about Hitler? What about Mao? What about, go back throughout history? What about Julius Caesar? What about, Genghis Khan? What did they do? Oh, they disarmed everybody. Oh, well, forget about that. Guns are awful. Let's go out and protest, because we know our parents were dumb. Our schooling system and our television and our YouTube celebrities tell us that our parents were dumb, and that we're going to bring about the change. So the change that we're going to bring about is we're going to help disarm all of our people, so that our people are absolutely powerless and are under the boot of tyranny for the end of time, because that's the way it goes. Tyranny, once it takes hold, the only way to stop it is to overthrow it violently. There's no other way. Violence is the only way. It's the only way. There's no other way. So you don't like violence, then don't call for tyranny. If you want tyranny, then you disarm your people. Then you're guaranteed to get tyranny. Guaranteed. 100%. Tyranny will come if the people are disarmed. And what do you have? You have all these kids that are hooked up to their devices, that are programmed by their shills into thinking that they are going to bring about some meaningful change. What is happening? People are dying from guns. Well, really? How many?
Yeah.
How many people died from guns in the United States last year? 8,000? How many of those? Half of them were suicides? Oh, they don't tell you that, right? Half of them were suicides. The other 45% were committed by criminals. And
they
then
better make some new gun laws.
Yeah, I mean,
criminals.
and just a little tidbit on that. In Toronto, when the ridiculous theatrics happened with the I don't even know what shooting it was. I mean, the shootings up here are the worst caliber. They're like many grades below Sandy Hook even. But they had some incident, and they had the mayor John Tory come out and say, "We got to ban handguns, period, right across the country." And then the Montreal City Council passed a resolution, which I don't know where they got. I don't know what led them to believe that they had the power to do this, but they came out and they said, we're going to call for all guns to be banned right across Canada. And a good story came out of this, although eventually it'll be tyranny. But the Toronto police chief came out and said, that's the worst idea ever. And they're like, well, why? And he's like, I'm the chief of police. If you take away the guns from the civilians, first of all, he says that it's criminals who are killing people and that they're getting all their guns from the black market. So that if you ban guns, handguns, you start with handguns and then long guns and then whatever guns are left, because that's the way it goes. You ban the handguns, then you take away the ability of the legal citizens who cause almost none of the crime and do none of the killing or very little of the killing, and you make them defenseless. And then all the onus goes on the police because then the civilians can't defend themselves. So the police, and then all of a sudden the criminals know this because, hey, nobody has guns except us. Let's go
Yep.
out and break in homes and rob stores and rape and, do whatever. I mean, it's tyranny where it's gone. And I have no sympathy when it comes to this. Like, when it comes to freedom of speech and when it comes to gun control, there's no quarter given. There is no quarter given. I used to be somewhat programmed against guns. Because I never owned a gun, and then, I was in the military. I shot a lot of guns, but it never really turned me on. I'm not a gun person, but then again, maybe I will be in the future. I don't know. That should be my right. But the thing is that I was never like a pro gun guy, and I used to kind of think, well, do we really need them and stuff like that? And then something called Sandy Hook happened. And well, I realized very quickly, that programming was something that was detrimental to my mindset, and that very quickly, in fact, Sandy Hook made me very much a pro gun advocate forevermore. And then I did so many shows breaking down, the gun control and how they use these concocted psyops, whether it be in Australia, or in that case it was Tasmania, but Scotland or Norway, and they create these massive psyops, and then sure enough, it happens every time. And they tried it in the United States and it didn't work. So their solution is to try it again and again and again and again and again. Just do it, and then do it with kids, and and just politicize it, plaster it everywhere, and just go to it's really disturbing. And Canada, the difference, of course, is that people are even dumber here. Like, they are. Thank God we have Americans. Thank God we got you guys watching our back, because we would be hopeless. That's the America. I would say United States, Quebec, in a way, and a few other areas in Europe are the last bastions against the New World Order, because they're almost like buffer zones. The United States, because of the states, because of the nature of the Constitution and the amendments, and the states themselves having control over guns and stuff like that, that's a huge obstacle, and that's what they're desperately trying to wipe out. They want to destroy the Constitution completely. They want to eradicate it. And so the battle is on, and this is going to get worse as it goes forward. There's going to be more and more of this manufactured sort of violence, and this is going to get ugly in the future, in my opinion, because there's going to be a point where they're going to just start taking guns from people, and that's when maybe you get the possibility of civil war breaking out. But those two things, I would say to folks out there, when it comes to your rights, freedom of speech and gun control, or the right to bear arms, are the most important things. Is you lose if you lose freedom of speech, well, you're already on that slope. But if you lose the right to bear arms, it's over. It's over at that point, because then they can do whatever they want, right?
What are you going to do?
That's
Throw a
it. What
rock?
are you gonna do? It's not about you as an individual, getting your
Yeah.
gun and going down to Parliament Hill or U.S. Capitol and taking command. That's not what I'm suggesting or insinuating in any way, shape, or form. It's about just people, normal people, being able to band together if need be to protect their communities.
Oh yeah, and if they take your guns, you won't be able to do anything. You'll just be
Yeah,
throwing rocks or
yeah,
bottle rockets or
exactly.
whatever. But they are definitely going through the children for that. I mean, they have the parents thinking that that they're unwell and not stable enough that they should have weapons in the home, with their mental health issues. I know people like this, and then the children are being just filled with it at school and with their March for Our Lives and everything. Definitely.
And it becomes like, imagine March for Your Lives. So what happens? They all get together, they paint their faces. It's exciting, right?
Yeah.
They're all, yay! They're walking down the street. People are paying attention to them. Cars
Do
are
they get
pulling
matching
over.
hats?
People are beeping, right? You know, I know I've been in a gazillion marches, you know, whether it be like, I marched against fracking. I marched many times against Monsanto. You know, so I've been, and then back in university, I was involved in a lot of political rallies. Montreal is just so political to begin with, anyways. So it's just kind of in the blood here. But the thing is that I know what it's like to be in these rallies. I know what it's like to be in a big crowd. That's why I talk about mob mentality. And mob mentality, you give up sovereignty. So these kids they're experiencing an adrenaline rush because, wow, we're out, we're doing something, we're going to change the world. Yeah, you're going to destroy us. That's what I want to say. I want to say it to each and every one of them, you know, and just look at them really sternly and say, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know. You are the instrument of destruction. You don't even know how you're being used by these awful, awful, terrible human beings. And I wouldn't even call David Hogg a human being. I would honestly, I'd call him a lot of different things, but of course that would get me in trouble.
Then your videos come down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and that's only one thing. I mean, it's crazy because it kind of what got me on the map way back when was Sandy Hook and all the shootings that I covered. Because then I covered that shooting and I covered another shooting. And next thing you know, I started realizing, well, wait a second, there's a pattern here. They're actually, you know, there's something really fishy going on with all these shootings. And then, you know, so that kind of got me into it. But yeah, there's so many more things going on. But I do try to say to folks that, you know, when it comes to rights, it's freedom of speech and right to bear arms that are essential to safeguard against tyranny. I mean, it's just, if you know anything about history, all right, and you can give a million examples of how gun control works. I often give the example of Julius Caesar, right, and disarming people around Rome, and the Roman centurions would show up, and they would, the civilians would be using slings, I mean, with rocks to try to save their little town, you know, and you know, a Roman sort of what do you call it, soldier or a phalanx, you know, all armed up and armed to the teeth with long spears and short swords and shit like that. I just cut the people to shreds. There's no way you could possibly stand up to it. And this is throughout history, folks, again and again and again. It's the same pattern. It's very, very disturbing. So that's one of the reasons why I've been so active for so long against the gun control. And you know what? When you think about it, how many people die every year, you know, of cancer, or how many people die in traffic accidents?
Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, pharmaceuticals. Yeah. Okay. So
Doctors killing you.
hundreds of thousands.
Sure.
Right. I mean, people are dying of all kinds of things, way more than they're dying of guns. Way more. It's not even remotely close. So if a small percentage, and it looks astronomical compared to other countries, because you know most of these countries have been disarmed. But if a small amount of people are being killed in guns, that's a small price to pay for the right to have freedom to stand up against tyranny. It's a very small price to pay. It's like, okay, you know, okay, a kid picked up a gun and shot his sister. Okay, you know.
Stupid parents.
Yeah, stupid parent, you know. Well, no, let's burn the world down. No, let's take away guns from everyone. Oh my God, let's chunk yogurt it, you know. Oh, the guns are the worst thing ever, you know. It's like, it's evil, and it has to be stopped. And yeah, you look into who's behind it all, and you're going to find a very, very, very familiar group of people. Michael Bloomberg, Rahm Emanuel, Dianne Feinstein, Franken-Feinstein, as I call her. You're going to find a very very identifiable group of people that you're not allowed to talk about at all. You can't talk about these people. You can't talk about them, but they're there. It's the people you're not allowed to talk about, and they are the ones that are bringing this about. Amongst, you know, not alone, but they're definitely the ones, the instruments. They're the main players involved. Michael Bloomberg, in particular, is quite a wretched creature when it comes to gun control. His whole being revolves around that. But yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, the only thing you could do is take kids aside and talk to them about the history of tyranny. I mean, that would be the way to do it. Give a 2-hour lecture on the history of tyranny to every kid in the world. If you did that, it would shape them. Like, you got them at a good age, you know, 8, 9 years old, just when they're maybe a little bit older. I don't know. Hopefully before they've gone down Rainbow Unicorn Alley. But if you get them and you can give a presentation, you can say, this is what happens when people get disarmed. And it happened here, and it happened there, and it happened there, and it happened there, and it happened there. And this is what happened to the people. Then you would never have to worry about it, because these kids would grow up and they realize, you know what, small price to pay if every now and again some crazy guy gets a gun, which undoubtedly happens. You know, it does happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. It does happen. Even though it seems like most of the big ones are completely concocted, but it's a small price to pay, folks. It is a small price to pay. And again, not to say that, you know, I wouldn't be in favor of some sort of system which hopefully would prevent people that are mentally ill, that are dangerously mentally ill, that have been diagnosed as that, from obtaining access to firearms. But that's like a straw man. If you throw, you know, like, oh, you're saying you're not, you know, like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's essential that the law-abiding citizens have the right to bear arms, and that the government does not have the right to know everything about every detail about, you know, everything that they have in their stock. That's tyranny. It's not fair.
And no doubt there would be so many crazy people if they weren't being made to be that way. So it wouldn't
Yeah,
be such a
exactly.
problem. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me say just a few more things about these children, and then I'll get them off the screen. I see them
Yeah,
sitting
go
there.
ahead.
I'm sure it's a total coincidence. I totally agree with you on the free speech and guns thing, though, by the way. But so these are the girls from that one family, or so it is said. But I saw one of their videos, and now I don't know where it is. But they did a makeup tutorial following along with James Charles.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't see where it is. It's in here
Yeah.
somewhere. But yeah, so the girls there, they did the makeup tutorial. And looking at the family, their whole family here. Did you ever see the movie? I don't see a lot of movies these days, but I have seen the movie The Joneses. Did you ever see that with David Duchovny and Demi Moore?
No. It
Yeah,
rings a bell, but no. Is
it
it?
it's interesting. It's this family, they're not really a family, but they're influencers. They're paid influencers that move into these rich neighborhoods, and they get all the toys, they get all the things, and all that they're there is to push and shill
Yeah.
to get the sales up. And that's what these families look at, these people that they're pushing all the toys and all the makeup and all of the garbage food. It just brought those people to mind, was all, but
Yeah,
not
yeah. The interesting thing about ShillTube, which is the proper name for YouTube, is that, and people don't know this, is how corporate shills work. I'm not even talking government shills or, you know, Israeli shills or whatever you want to say, right? I'm talking corporate shills, like Microsoft shills, Apple shills.
Mhm.
Like they first of all, they train them to go out in public. So, like, for instance, one of the, like, the internet, of course, all over the internet. So, like, comments like, oh, this is the best computer ever, I bought it, and oh my god, it works so well. And you know, it's like some if you click on the YouTube channel, it's like somebody has those videos, made it count like that day or something like that. Total shill account, total bullshit. But that's one method. But another method that they use is that they go into public. So, like, they'll go into public, um, and they'll be like in a park or something, and they'll like try to strike up conversations with people, and they'll be like, yeah, I noticed you got tech there. I just got this, and boy, oh boy, it's really cool. Have you heard about it? And they'll act like they're normal people. This is a common tactic that they use just in everyday environments. So there's really no low that's too low for them to go to try to push their products. You could argue, well, it's corporate, system, and their dog eat dog world, and they're trying to get their products across. But yeah, when it gets to this level, when it's kids that they're using to, because these kids are shills, whether they know it or not. They must know to an extent that they're making a lot of money off it, or their parents are making a lot of money off it. But it's very disingenuous, first of all, because you're using a kid. And I agree that kids should not be used in advertising. Like, I don't see why. Because it's bad. It's like you show 3-4-year-olds at a McDonald's commercial, right? It's like, the food is awful. It's targeting the same kids, the same age, and it's making kids nag their parents so that they go to this fast food establishment. So I think ethically that those things are beyond, they're very wrong in many ways, but this is the world that we have now. But yeah, like on YouTube, to have children reviewing toys, for instance, is like, who are making these toys?
Oh yeah.
What are the toy? What is behind these toys? And all the toys are tied to, like, if you ever see, like, Nerdy Nummies is a great example of a channel that brings all these things together. It's all your programming there. If you go to Rosanna Pansino, that's all your programming comes together. All your trannies, your Marvel comic book movies, your video games, your toxic foods, your genetically modified foods, your YouTube shills, your YouTube trannies, your YouTube tranny shills. It's all there. And that's just one example. You could say, to a certain extent, it's all here on this channel as well. But it all, like, the toys are never, it's never like in the old days, you might have had toys like, the toy companies like, okay, we want to make toys for boys. What are we going to make? Oh, we're going to make swords, and we're going to make action figures. All right, what kind of action figures are we make? Well, let's make them like really muscular and like soldiers or whatever, right? It's not like that today. All the toys are based on cartoons and movies, like in comic books, which are all the same, right?
I think I just saw that Lego came out with Overwatch.
Of course, yeah. And I didn't do a video yet, but another Overwatch character just revealed himself as gay. So it's so important, right? Like, just diversity is strength. But yeah, it's all connected. So it's like Shrek, the movie. That just pops into mind. Shrek comes out, a whole bunch of toys come out. Then McDonald's features Shrek Happy Meals that have the Shrek toys, and then Monopoly releases a Shrek Monopoly board, right? And then there's Shrek clothing that's at Walmart, right? There's Shrek hats and Shrek masks and for Halloween and whatever else. So it's like, wherever the idea originally came from, which is almost ultimately always somewhere extremely evil, it permeates every element of people's lives because people are living in this world. So you're going to the McDonald's, you're going to the movies, you're going to the shopping malls, even if you're on the bus, in the metros, you're seeing these things. They're everywhere. They're at your schools. They're ubiquitous. They literally are ubiquitous. Like, when I mentioned this, whenever a Star Wars movie comes out, just do the Star Wars challenge. Don't do the Bird Box challenge, which all these morons are doing, which is, I need to do a video on that as well.
Good, because I don't know what it is. I saw the name Bird Box.
Oh yeah, you got to watch that. Yeah.
I'll wait for you to tell me about it.
Oh, it's crazy. But that's the thing, right? It's like, they get you everywhere. They'll get you one way or another. It's like the Blondie song, right? One way or another, they're going to get you, because they'll get you in the malls, they'll get you in the theaters, they'll get you in the video games, they'll get you on the internet, they'll get you on YouTube, they'll get you, wherever you are, as long as you allow them. and the average person has no idea, and they think, well, there's, the interesting thing about Bird Box too is that you could say it's a metaphor for the New World Order, because you probably don't know the story. I'll just
Mm-mm.
encapsulate it quickly for you. Is that there is at the beginning of the film, and Sandra Bullock is the main character in it. She plays an artist, and she's withdrawn, and she's pregnant, and she is, of course, not with her whoever gave her the baby. She's totally single and has nothing to do with that. So, already a lot of agendas thrown in there. She's depressed, she's withdrawn, and she's doing really disturbing art. And what happens is these news clips come in which in Russia and other parts of the world, people are going crazy. There's mass suicides that are happening, and they don't know what it is. And there's just all these people that just start killing themselves. And so, and then it just kind of blurs in the background. And next thing you know, this Sandra Bullock character is driving, or she goes to the hospital because to get the obstetrician to get her baby, checked and stuff like that, and see how her pregnancy's going. And she sees a girl before she sees the doctor, who looks really happy and pretty attractive girl walking down the hallway. And then she's coming out, and then she sees the same girl, and she's smashing her head up against a glass window, and it's like blood everywhere. And it's like she's just killing herself, basically. And then they're driving back home from the hospital, and all of a sudden all chaos goes loose, and all these people just start killing themselves, like driving in their cars. They start crashing into things. They start throwing themselves in front of vehicles and, blowing themselves up. And it's just crazy. It's chaotic. And the idea is that there are these demons that have come, or this is what they say, these demons have come. And anybody sees the demons, and they're Lovecraftian, they're Cthulhu mythos. If you see these demons, you'll go crazy and you'll kill yourself. Unless, of course, you are crazy. If you're crazy, then you'll be euphoric, and you'll. So if you're a crazy person, or you've got mental illness, you'll actually embrace it, and you'll become a servant of these demons. So the only way to escape them is to cover your eyes, and you can't look at anything. So everybody's blind. Like, people are blinding themselves. In fact, in the book, people blind themselves en masse, and they don't really talk about that in the show. They don't really show that, but apparently that's in the book. But in the show, people are covering their eyes, and they're staying inside, and they're saying, "Don't look at social media." I laughed my ass off when they said that. But you couldn't even look at television. So, like, people would look at television and they go crazy because the demons would come through the television. They come through the monitors. So in a way, I was saying it's like your New World Order programming that's all around you, and it is driving you crazy. It literally is, if you allow it. If you are oblivious to it, and you are, suffering, which it seems most people are, which is really sad. That this is what's happening to you, and there's an old proverb, or at least from a very famous H.G. Wells story called "The Country of the Blind," where in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, sort of thing. So, you could throw that into the mix, but it's like one of these things. Netflix, everybody had to see it. So Netflix told the world, and all the media told the world, everybody watched this on Netflix. So everybody watched it. So everybody had to watch it. And if you didn't watch it, you had to watch it as soon as possible, so that you watched everything that everybody else watched, that you could understand what it was. And in the show, she has to carry around some birds, because birds are alerted to the presence of these demons, and they carry them around a little bird box sort of thing. But it's really the people that are living in the bird boxes. So the people are living in their little homes and blocking out all the sunlight and everything else, and to avoid the demons coming in and destroying them, sort of thing. And yeah, these things. So now you have all these people doing the bird box challenge, and you laugh. So you've heard of it, undoubtedly, and I imagine it's all over. And people keep telling me about it. And so what people are doing is they're blinding themselves, or they're putting on blindfolds, and they're walking around. And this is something they've been doing for a long time with people. They've been doing these blind challenges, like these lava challenges that they do on YouTube, where people can't touch the floor, like the floor is lava and shit like that. Well, this is just an extension of it. The 1,000-degree knife is another example. So As is, of course, the aforementioned water bucket challenge. Exact same sort of thing where everybody does whatever everybody else is doing. And so people are dying doing this. Like it's not a big stretch to imagine that blinding yourself or putting a blindfold around and going out in public is dangerous.
Yeah.
So people are getting hit by cars and shit doing the blindfold challenge. This is all part of how they do it. This is how they program us. Like this is it's all meant to happen. So all the popular YouTubers do the bird box challenge.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, I watched it and it's very disturbing. More so not in the way that it's like super terrifying or anything like that. It's just kind of run of the mill horror, but the just the level of programming that comes with it is the more disturbing elements. So but yeah, and then you're in the kind of conundrum if you're doing this type of work is like, do I watch everything that everyone's being programmed with just so I understand what the programming is?
Yeah.
And the answer is kind of, yeah, I guess if I'm still gonna keep doing this, right? So, but yeah, it's crazy what they're doing to people. It is really, really crazy how people are. The Tide Pods is another excellent example. I mean, that's totally manufactured. That's not organic. It's not like some kids. Oh yeah, did you see those kids on YouTube that just decided to eat some Tide? No, somebody came up with that idea. And or it's possible that it started off as it's just something stupid, and they said, "Well, that's perfect. Let's use it. Get everybody to do it. Let's get all these celebrities. Let's get all these popular YouTubers to do it. Let's put these on trending. Let's make it look like." And so all of a sudden, people doing. I mean, like, why is Tide Pod even a thing? Like, of course, you're not gonna. You eat that, you'll die, or you'll get really sick. So you don't do it. Oh, it looks like candy. Okay, well, Tide probably played a role in it. Tide came out like bandits, by the way, with that because it pumped their sales through the roofs, and they can completely say, "Well, we didn't have anything to do with it. We told people these things are toxic and all that."
I was just gonna say, were the sales of these Tide Pods really poor before they started feeding them
I
to
mean,
people?
is there anything as bad publicity when it comes to, you know, selling products or yourself? I mean, like, yeah, no, the sales went really well, and then they had the viral sort of Tide commercial during the Super Bowl, which featured the guy from Stranger Things. These are how these things work. So the corporations play a big role. They're all part of the Bilderberg group, and God knows whatever other New World Order groups they're partaking in, but they are meeting for sure, and they are definitely partaking in this mass programming of humanity. There's no doubt about it, and in a way, it shows how dumbed down they've made people. But in another way, you have to be careful because you might actually believe that all of what is being reported is actually happening, and that's a mistake to make as well, because a lot of this could just be actors that are playing out these roles. You could have people that are kids that are just actors, and they're given Tide Pods that actually have, like, water or fruit, or what is it, Kool-Aid or something in them, right? And then they bite into them, and then they start acting like they're sick, but they might not actually have even the detergent in there. I mean, you don't really know, but the reality is that's how deep the deception is. They can make anything they want be viral. You look at how powerful Disney is and how many affiliates they have. I mean, that's why I always reference fans demand Elsa have a lesbian partner. I mean, there's nothing organic about that. You could bring up this person or that person. You could make a whole sort of character profile and say, this is the person that first. I don't buy any of it. Nothing gets viral unless you decide. You decided that that's what was going to happen. And then people say, no, no. Well, if you're skeptical and you come in and you say, no, 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 you know what? I believe it's just people that, whether they've been programmed or not, honestly asked for Elsa to be a lesbian. Well, look at the movie Frozen. There's a scene in the movie Frozen, which is one of the most popular children's movies, if not the most popular children's movie of the past decade or so. And I've never seen it, but I saw the scene. I covered it, in which they go into a bakery or something, and the guy, or I don't know if it's an inn or a bakery, I can't really remember, but the guy behind the counter is obviously gay in his mannerism and his speaking and all that. And at one point, they look, the main characters look over and they see people, they see a group of people in a sauna, and it's a bunch of children with another man, and they're all in the sauna together with, you know, towels on, sort of thing. So it's a grown man in a sauna with a bunch of kids, and the innkeeper says, "That's my family." That's in Disney. That's in Disney's biggest movie of the past 20 years.
Am I the only person that whenever you hear the word, I have seen the movie. I've seen it
Okay, do
probably
you
two
remember that
times.
scene?
Yeah, but every time I hear Frozen, what rings in my head is, "Do you want to build a snowman?" Like I just hear that song immediately in my head when someone mentions
I don't
Frozen.
even
So
know that song. What comes
yeah,
into my head is Winter is Coming,
yeah, that too.
like Game of Thrones, and the winter Fire and Ice, right? The Song of Fire and Ice,
The,
which is another whole um, thing that could be interpreted in many different ways, and that could be that they are anticipating that we're actually going to go into an ice age, and that they know that this is likely to happen at some point, and that they're actually, you know, coding it to everyone that the ice age is coming, sort of thing, whether it would be the result of geoengineering or some sort of celestial solar event or something like that, or a polar shift or whatever, right? But that you know, you could speculate till the cows come home wherever they're going with that, but they are definitely pushing that winter sort of programming, as well as the phoenix fire and destruction is everywhere. The rebirth of the new world coming out of the phoenix. Everywhere I look is the phoenix. Everywhere, like I see it every day on people's, like especially on YouTube shills. Like they're always wearing the phoenix shirts. I often call people out for that. Right? It's like, well, you got a phoenix on your shirt. It's not like it's the Phoenix Suns or something. It's the basketball team. It's just a shirt with a phoenix on it, sort of thing. So I really don't know, and that I could speculate till no end. But there is definitely a lot of coding going on with their programming, and it's very evil. These that's why I'm sorry. You got kids. Disney's evil. I'm sorry. You know, I, you can disagree. I mean, by all means, please have your own opinion on things, but there's no way you're going to convince me otherwise. You're going to tell me that Disney and be like Joe Rogan. No, no, go to Disneyland. Remember that guy too? Is hilarious. That guy that did the film Collapse, who was this CIA guy that was involved in the oil industry and all this stuff, and he was pushing the whole narrative that peak oil is past, and that the world is in a free fall, and you know that the economies are going to collapse and catastrophe is going to hit us. And he was like really morbid guy, and he was on Joe Rogan's show, and he was and anyways, Joe Rogan at one point stopped him. He says, just stop. All right, why don't you go to Disneyland? I mean, seriously, just go to Disneyland. Like seriously, dude, just go to Disneyland. And
Oh,
to make a long story short, the guy like basically killed himself not long after.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there was a segment of Abby Martin crying her eyes out because she was friends with the guy when she got the news on RT or whatever she was doing. But yeah, I mean, just go to Disney. It just makes me laugh because it's like, yeah, go to just go to devil, go to Satan. Satan will save you. You know, go to Satan. There you go. Bring your kids. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your entertainment is not good. It's not good unless you're making it yourselves, and that's the solution. Make your own entertainment. Why not encourage your kids to be musical and artistic and theatrical, and you'll have the best entertainment anyways, right? I mean, there's no better entertainment than watching your own family and, you know, people, your own community interacting, people that you can actually know, touch, feel, you know, interact with, as opposed to these synthetic fucking pukes that they put all over. And how many in the future, how many clones are we going to have to deal with? I mean, are we already dealing with a shit ton of clones? Who knows? You know, I mean, it's going to be very difficult in the very near future to make heads or tails out of anything. I anticipate, with the rate that things are going, the rate that you look at people like Poppy. I mean, that I don't you probably don't even know that person, but
No.
and that's like a psyop on itself. It's like this absolutely bizarre looking blonde woman that looks like an android, and she's like a big celebrity, and everywhere she goes, she just says, "I'm Poppy." And then all of a sudden, they bring out kids all the time. They do this. They'll have kids in a room, and then they'll have her hidden behind a screen or something, and they'll just pull the screen down. The kids start screaming every time. Like the kids are like, "Oh my god!" And then they go like, "Are you real? Are you an android? Are you a robot?" It's like, what the hell are
What?
they doing? Yeah. There's so
Oh,
much out there that I don't even have the time to even begin to cover when it comes to how deep and deceptive and how awful this programming is. I see it everywhere. I am thoroughly horrified by what they're doing to the youth, like thoroughly. And you just gave one example with this toys and me. I mean, the videos that I saw, and that was way back. The videos I was covering were like 2012, 2013, 2014 off this channel, and they were so disgusting that I think I recall that I got so emotional that I just probably slammed the table and accidentally stopped the video. I was so pissed when I saw the kids playing with the penis toy.
oh
I
my
was just
God.
like, and then I was covering how, and so the black guy and his wife were going around with these kids and treating them like little babies, and it's so bizarre, and there was sexual innuendo and rainbows and interracial fucking dolls everywhere humping each other, and yeah, it was just like I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, this channel is getting 400 million views. It's like no repercussions, nobody coming in saying, nah, maybe this isn't suitable for little kids. You know what? Maybe we'll censor you. There's a video that I had set up for the. I didn't even show it, but it was Sense8, and it was that big orgy I talked about where they have the 8 people and they're all different genders, but the whole climax of the whole season is them having this massive orgy in a hot tub together, and it's very graphic, right? And there's no age restriction on that. Anybody can watch it.
That doesn't
Just
go against community guidelines,
not,
should it? No,
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 not at
no.
all. No, it's good, clean fun. Susan Wojcicki knows what's good for kids, I'm sure.
But if
As
you
does
did a
Shane
video
Dawson.
about it, it'd
It's
be gone.
unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
It's sad, but
Hey, I want to keep talking, but the cat's crying. I gotta go get her some food. Do you want to talk to people? Do you want to go hog wild? Does it fit your
I
energy?
gotta go actually. I just
Oh,
looked
you
at
have
the
to
time
go.
here.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, but I thought, oh my God, it's like almost 10 o'clock. Oh, it's been a absolute pleasure talking with you.
It has been great. I hope we can do it again because we didn't get to everything again.
Well, yeah, for sure. Just keep a itinerary
I
what
know,
you want to
I know it's
discuss.
tough.
Don't ever hesitate to shut me up. You know me. I mean, anybody that knows me knows that once I start talking, I don't shut up. I'm just a motor
No,
mouth. Not a bad thing. It's just the reality. So yeah, I say that to people on shows because I used to host all these live shows, and it was hilarious because sometimes like back in the day we're doing We'll Do It Live, and we had all these people would come on like every week. We'd have different people and all these interesting, well, some of them were shells and whatever, but we'd have all these interesting people, and sometimes we talk for like 4 or 5 hours. We have all these discussions, and it'd be like, we haven't even heard from you. There's like 2 or 3 people that have been silent the whole time. I said, you got to speak up. You gotta, that's what I tell folks when you're on a live show. You gotta be able to step in there. But you did a great job. You're doing an excellent job hosting.
well, I'm glad to have you on. Let you have a little talking time because I
Yeah,
know they don't let you do that much over in.
just be prepared for your pink slip.
Yeah, dun dun dun.
Coming.
We got one thumbs down last time we
It's
talked.
it's coming.
So
Pink slip
yeah,
incoming.
if we had got to all our topics, I'm sure I've got the book sitting here. That's next time. Next time we'll get a pink
Absolutely.
slip. We'll aim for it.
All right. Well, you take care, eh? It's great talking to you.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you everybody in the chat. It was
Yeah.
great to see you all. And thanks. Talk to you soon, Jeff.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.